Chapter 181. When Chen Mo received super soldier serum and perfect blood, his brain development and mental strength were enhanced with the improvement of his physical quality. Although Steve and others have also improved their mental power after being strengthened, they are far from being silent, and the improvement in mental power is even weaker. In addition to the two enhancements and the potential explosion between life and death when the plane crashed, Chen Mo's brain and mental strength gradually increased in the accumulated battle and training, and the growth rate was very slow. However, after two world experiences, Chen Mo's mental power and brain development have reached a very high level. In addition to being able to consciously control some physical activities that were originally controlled by the brain and not controlled by the consciousness, he can also directly control some cellular instinctive activities that are not controlled by the nervous system under the influence of mental force. For example, the ability to control the production and synthesis of melanin by melanocytes seems insignificant, but it is beyond the control of human body. At this time, Chen Mo, to a certain extent, has been separated from the category of ordinary human beings and evolved to a higher level of life. It is not too much to say that he is a god. Eric Kermango finally came back to his mind when he knelt down to Chen Mo in M'Baku. His eyes became more devout and fanatical. He knelt down to Chen Mo with him beside M'Baku. Seeing that the desired effect has been achieved, Chen Mo once again controls his body to slowly return to its original appearance. The elongated spine gradually becomes shorter. The height then shrinks back to the original height. The blood injected into the muscle flows out slowly. The bulging muscle gradually shrinks and returns to the original. The melanin in the skin is rapidly decomposed, showing the original skin color. By the time the two kneeling on the ground raised their heads, Chen Mo had completely recovered. If it wasn't that what happened just now stimulated their hearts so much, they both remembered what happened before their eyes very clearly, I'm afraid they would think it was just an illusion. Looking at Chen Mo standing in front of them, who is dignified, the excitement in M'Baku's heart can't be described with words. Their ape god didn't abandon them. He came to them again and will lead them to unify the African continent and build a powerful and huge kingdom. According to Eric Kermango's performance, it is obvious that he has already known Chen Mo's identity. That is to say, he is also a believer of Chen Mo. This also explains a puzzle that has always existed in M'Baku's mind. Eric Kermango, as a member of the royal family who believes in Panther God, is totally different from the Black Panther's T'Challa in both appearance and way of fighting. On the contrary, he is more similar to or even more like an ape than the Jabari tribe of Hanuman, the ape god they believe in. It's a huge body, a big body, and a fierce way to fight. At first, M'Baku was puzzled about this, and now he suddenly realized that Eric Kermango, the king of Wakanda, believed in the ape god Hanuman instead of the panther god. His majestic body and powerful strength are all given to him by ape god. These are exactly what M'Baku aspires to as a power-loving Jabari tribesman. Looking at the M'Baku kneeling in front of him, Chen Mo can clearly feel his pious firmness, and also find his envy and desire when he looks at Eric Kermango. Chen Mo smiles. Since M'Baku has offered his loyalty, Chen Mo also plans to give him a gift. When M'Baku reappeared in front of the crowd, all eyes widened in shock. Originally, M'Baku had the title of ape. He was the largest and most robust warrior in the whole kingdom of Wakanda, except for the panther who has taken heart-shaped herbs and gained physical strength. No one can defeat him in strength. It wasn't until Eric Kermango's appearance that his record for height and size was broken. At this time, the shape of M'Baku has changed a lot. The figure that was more than 2 meters tall has been raised a large part again, becoming the same as that of Eric Kermango, who is a giant beast. The strong figure has also become stronger, and the muscles of his whole body are bulging up, which contains more powerful power than before. After the transformation of the enhanced super soldier serum, M'Baku became similar to Eric Kermango in body shape. They stood behind Chen Mo like two great spirits, which made people deeply awed. There was not much to be said about external M'Baku, and nothing to be said about it by King Eric Kermango. Although others were extremely confused, no one was asking for answers. There are heart-shaped herbs in front, which can greatly strengthen people's strength. Although the change of M'Baku's figure is surprising, it is not unacceptable. Although he didn't say much to others, M'Baku didn't hide anything from the people of the Jabari tribe. From Ramayana to Journey to the West, M'Baku told all the people about his previous discoveries and told them that Chenmo was the ape god Hanuman they believed in. If those biographies and fabulous similarities are only theoretical evidence, then the change of M'Baku is solid evidence. Only their great ape god can make his followers bigger and stronger, and become truly powerful ape-man soldiers. The strengthening of the super soldier serum not only makes the body shape of M'Baku stronger, but also increases the body strength by 5 times as much as that of the ordinary people. The strong fighting ability shown by the super soldier serum makes all the people of Jabari tribe shocked. The hammer and spear originally used by M'Baku, which was made of a kind of hard and unique plant of Wakanda, was directly broken under his great power. M'Baku had to change the self-expanding vibrating gold spear prepared by Chenmo for them. At the request of Chenmo, this spear was specially made by Princess Su Rui for the elite soldiers who carried out this beheading operation. Although it looks similar to the vibrating gold telescopic spear of the Women's Royal Guard, it is actually the same as the spear used by the soldiers of the border tribes. The spearhead is equipped with acoustic gun, which can launch shock wave for medium-range attack, with great destructive power. The stretching spear made by Zhenjin is extremely strong and sharp. In addition to the sound wave attack, the spear used as a cold weapon is also very powerful. Now the powerful force of M'Baku is used, and its destructive power is extremely amazing. After completely accepting the tribes of M'Baku and Jabari, Chenmo's orders were quickly implemented. Chapter 182. The soldiers of Jabari tribe, who have always adhered to the tradition and are unwilling to use high-tech weapons and equipment, are also obediently replaced by Zhenjin technology equipment specially made by Princess Surui for these elite soldiers who are selected to participate in the operation under the instruction of Chenmo, mainly including combat suit, spear and auxiliary communication device, Kimo by Zhu. Different from the original battle suits with national characteristics of soldiers of all ethnic groups, including the Women's Royal Guard, Chenmo's battle suit looks similar to the Panther's, completely covering the whole body. However, compared with the Panther battle suit made entirely of Zhenjin, the defense of these battle suits is not so strong. Although Wakanda has an amazing gold mine, it is not easy to mine. The annual output is limited. It is impossible to equip every warrior with a Panther battle suit that needs to consume a lot of precious gold. These battle suits are made of a new type of anti-theft fiber mastered by Wakanda. Although there is no strong defense of Panther battle suit that can withstand almost any attack, there is no problem in resisting the shooting of ordinary guns. In addition to the more modern tight combat suit, the built-in sonic gun, and the self-retractable vibrating gold spear, Chenmo also equipped these soldiers with a unique auxiliary communication device of Wakanda, Kimo Yuju. In addition to remote communication and holographic projection, this high-tech equipment has a variety of auxiliary functions, not only to replace computers and mobile phones. It can even be used to insert wounds and play a role in stabilizing injuries within a certain period of time. The elite fighters of all ethnic groups wearing the new equipment will no longer look like the original savage and primitive. They will be wrapped in the black tights with a sense of science and technology, and the bright and fierce gold vibrating spears with silver light, making them look mysterious and powerful, full of deterrence. The construction of stealth fighters is still in progress. Every day, more than 10 fighters are offline to complete the construction. It doesn't take a few days to complete the construction of 100 new fighters. While waiting for the stealth fighter to be built, Chen Mo is not idle. After consulting a large number of intelligence and conducting a detailed investigation, Chen Mo conducted targeted training for more than 400 elite Wakanda fighters, who are about to perform the beheading task to ensure that they can successfully complete the task. After all, most of them have not carried out such tasks before and lack corresponding experience. In this regard, Chen Mo's experience can be said to be quite rich. Chen Mo's experience in infiltrating and assassinating the villas to assassinate Zhou Tianhao in the first real world, and the 9-headed snake base in the Captain World of the United States to disintegrate the defense forces. Few people can match him. Under his instruction, the assassination ability of a group of elite Wakanda fighters has been greatly improved, and the assurance of completing the task has been much greater. A few days later, the construction of 100 stealth fighters was finally completed. In addition, there were already more than 100 fighters, enough to carry more than 400 soldiers, 2 in a group. In the evening, more than 400 elite fighters carefully selected from various Wakanda tribes boarded more than 200 stealth fighters neatly parked in the square, armed. Each aircraft is equipped with special pilots and logistics personnel in charge of communication and intelligence assistance. As long as 2 elite fighters are in charge of fighting, it is good. After all the people boarded the plane, the cabin door of the plane was slowly closed, and the engine under the plane shot 3 light blue beams, pushing the plane to slowly lift off. More than 200 fighters rose at the same time, adjusted their positions in the midair, and flew in all directions. After flying for a certain distance, the surface of the fighters flashed a ripple like a water wave. Then more than 200 fighters disappeared in the air successively. Even the blue light beam of the propeller disappeared, completely entering the stealth state, flying towards their respective destinations at high speed. This secret operation related to the future pattern of Africa was officially launched. In the night, a stealth fighter plane carrying all armed elite fighters of all ethnic groups set out from Wakanda and flew to all parts of Africa to carry out the warlord cleanup plan. With strong intelligence and technological support, these African warlords are nowhere to be found. The invisible fighter plane hovers directly over the building where the target is located. 2 armed elite fighters of Wakanda sneak in from above. Even if there are guards on the top of the building, they have no time to give a warning and are solved by the powerful fighters of Wakanda. Without alerting anyone, they quietly approach the target. These African warlords were unable to escape the assassination of the Wakanda fighters. They were often in their sleep, stabbed in the heart by mysterious fighters who suddenly fell from the sky. When a group of soldiers rushed in, they could only see the dead body of their general, and the light blue halo gradually disappeared in the clouds outside the window. In just one night, hundreds of warlords were killed across Africa, and that number is rising, not stopping at dawn. Each operation team has been assigned more than one goal. The Wakanda fighters are very fast. After solving one goal, they can rush to the next place quickly. The time of one night is enough for them to finish several cleaning tasks in different areas. By dawn, most of their tasks had been completed. That is to say, more than half of the thousands of warlords in Africa had been killed. CIA Headquarters, Virginia, USA. Sir, something big happened. A young man with eyes rushed into his officer's office with a face full of panic. The coolies didn't even care to knock. Panic. What happened? The fat middle-aged white chief in the office scolded Manic and rushed in the subordinates, while quietly moving the mouse, turning off the video interface of the website where the battle of shirtless between men and women was going on. Young subordinates don't know that their officers are doing things that are not suitable for young people during working hours. Hearing his questions, they quickly replied, "It's Africa." The white officer, who had been made nervous by his panicked subordinates, suddenly relaxed after hearing the news. Although the situation in the backwater of Africa was complicated and chaotic, there was no big deal. As long as it wasn't a domestic accident or a big move by the hostile forces, it would be good. The relaxed fat white officer looked at the frightened young men in front of him, and his face sank sharply. Chapter 183. For the impetuous man who interrupted his interest in watching action movies and made him white and nervous for a long time, the white officer was very dissatisfied, immediately pulled down his face and shouted, "What can happen in Africa?" Angrily staring at the young men, the white officer snapped, "Where did the alien ship land?" The young man shook his head in a hurry. "Is that alien occupation of Africa?" As the white chief said, he leaned forward with his hands on the desk. His big, fat body and round face, which was red because of anger, put a lot of pressure on the young people. The young man shook his head again in the face of the officer's stern questioning. The white officer looked at his stupidity and came out angry. His anger broke out completely. He pointed to his nose and shouted loudly, "Since they are not, tell me, what makes you panic so much that you forget to knock at the door and just burst into my office? Don't tell me because which two warlords are fighting again." The young CIA civil servant did not calm down because of the reprimand from the chief, but still looked a little flustered. "Sir, it's not fighting, it was killed." The white officer smelt speech to show a pair of expression that is sure to be so, looked at the young man to shake his head disappointedly. "That's not a big deal. If there is no direct conflict and fighting, the impact will be much smaller. Just for such a thing you are in such a panic. It seems that I need to revise my evaluation of you." "No, sir." Seeing that his chief has been so old for a long time, he has not been given a chance to make it clear. The young people can't care about anything else, so they directly interrupt the white chief's self-talk, saying loudly, "Not a warlord, it's a lot. Hundreds of warlords have been killed in Africa since last night." Hearing this, the white officer suddenly bounced out of the chair and looked at his men in shock and cried out, "What?" Intelligence organizations around the world soon received news one after another. A large number of warlords in Africa were assassinated almost at the same time. Without waiting for their response, more and more African warlords were killed. Almost everyone realized that there must be something big going on. One order was quickly conveyed, and countless intelligence personnel lurking in Africa were mobilized, and more people are coming to Africa. Their tasks are the same, that is to find out the truth behind the massive assassination of warlords. A lot of more detailed information has been delivered to the heads of the intelligence departments. These hundreds of warlords were killed in the same way. Almost all of them were beheaded or stabbed to the heart. They were very primitive and effective means of killing. The weapon of killing is also cold weapons such as long knives and spears after forensic identification. However, according to the marks of the muzzle, these cold weapons are sharper than any known weapons. However, the light blue halo that was found in the air by chance reminds many people of alien spaceships. At least no one of the known scientific and technological products has such an effect. The appearance of silence in the aircraft after the personnel infiltrated to complete the assassination mission. they quickly took off to evacuate, no matter whether it is a helicopter or a fighter that can take off and land vertically. Not to mention the difficulty of the control, the loud sounds made by the two flying and hovering can't hide from the guards at all. As early as they were close, they had alarmed everyone. There seems to be no better explanation for the primitive weapons and killing methods, advanced stealth aircraft, except for aliens. At the same time of their in-depth investigation, there are still news of warlords being killed. Obviously, the target of the other side is likely to kill all warlords in Africa. In response to this, they quickly sent people around the living warlords to guard the plants and wait for the rabbits and prepare for a closer look. After a night, most well-informed warlords have learned the news and strengthened their vigilance. If their people can't get in, they secretly set up control around them. And some of them have close cooperation, even with the spokesmen they support. They simply sent out elite special forces, set up a network, waiting for this mysterious group of enemies to hook up. Unfortunately, they are doomed to be disappointed. Relying on the extremely developed technology developed by Shenzhen, Wakanda is more than a little ahead of them. Wakanda fighters have very strong stealth ability. Even in the short distance, it is difficult to find the fighters by naked eyes. The only one who can expose the fighter plane is the Wakanda fighter who apparently meets the assassination mission. When the fighter plane takes off again, the stealth device is restarted to fully play its role in a few seconds. The blue flame emitted from the propeller under the fighter plane cannot be completely hidden, which is the blue halo that was seen by the soldiers before and quickly disappeared in the cloud. In addition to the stealth ability, the detectors equipped on the fighter plane are also very advanced, which can project the scene inside the building below through the 3D sand table, completely restore the internal situation. Their carefully arranged traps and ambushes set by heavy soldiers have no way to hide and are completely exposed to the eyes of the Wakanda soldiers. Without the unexpected advantage, these elite special forces soldiers and intelligence personnel of various countries cannot be the opponents of the powerful and advanced Wakanda elite soldiers at all. However, if they want to complete their tasks and kill their targets under their siege, they will inevitably fight with these special forces and soldiers, which will inevitably result in a large number of casualties, expand the situation and involve these foreign forces completely, which is against their original intention. So we found that the Wakanda fighter plane with the trap below did not land, but hovered in the air and reported this situation to Wakanda. This is not only the case. Of the remaining hundreds of warlords, more than a dozen have in-depth cooperation with the forces of other countries, or even simply the spokesperson of countries in Africa. In the headquarters of these 10 warlords, traps have been set up, and a large number of special war personnel from various countries have been ambushed by the targets. They are on close guard and ready to attack the intruders at any time. Chen Mo was not too surprised when he received a report from more than a dozen teams at the operation headquarters in the Palace of Wakanda. It's worthy of being one of the great powers in the world, but the response speed is not slow. Chapter 184. Chen Mo said and turned to look behind him. The 4 men, M'Baku, T'Challa, T'Chaka and Zuli, were standing there with full arms, waiting for his order. Now it's your turn. Soon, 3 Wakanda stealth fighters flew out of the palace, breaking through the speed of sound and flying at a very high speed in 3 different directions. As Zuli has not been strengthened by heart-shaped herbs, his physical fitness is only a little stronger than ordinary people. Although he has superb combat skills and advanced weapons and equipment of Wakanda, he is still reluctant to set traps alone for the elite special forces who are waiting for them. So he will work with T'Chaka. As 3 fighters set out from Wakanda, they hovered over the headquarters of more than a dozen warlords, and the stealth fighters waiting for orders turned around and flew to other targets. Three super soldiers who have taken heart-shaped herbal medicine or received super soldier serum reinforcement, with physical fitness more than 4 times that of ordinary people, are equipped with strong defense, battle suits that can resist rifle shooting, and extremely sharp and powerful gold vibrating weapons. It is not difficult to kill a warlord under the protection of special forces. The 3 stealth fighters were all in full swing, and they arrived at their respective destinations in a short time. Jumping from the aircraft hovering over the target building, several people were directly exposed to the surveillance vision of the special forces who had been ambushed for a long time. In a large 3-story building, a special operations team composed of more than 10 elite special soldiers is waiting for the arrival of the mysterious target. There it is. Looking at the tall, mysterious figure on the roof, the soldier in charge of monitoring the roof shouted to the captain nearby. The sharp-eyed captain quickly turned around to look at the soldier's combat computer, and the screen showed the real-time picture from the hidden camera on the top of the building. In between, a giant figure appeared on the roof of the building. He was wearing a set of black tight combat suit full of sci-fi feeling, which showed his strong body completely. It's just that his face is also wrapped in battle clothes, and he can't see his face clearly. This strange, close-fitting combat suit, coupled with his unusually tall and robust figure, makes people wonder if he is an alien from outside the Earth. However, whether he is an alien or not, the sharp spear with silver metallic luster in his hand clearly tells them that he did not come for peace. Target appears. Everyone is ready to fight. The leader of the special operations team took a look at the powerful and mysterious figure on the combat computer and quickly issued the combat order to the team members. The team members who have been waiting for a long time clenched their arms and stared at the end of the corridor in front of them, which is the only way from the roof to here. The 3-story building is the home of the African warlord they are protecting. To prevent his assassination, they placed him in a room in the center of the 2nd floor. This room is located in the center of the building. There are no windows. Only one door connects with the long corridor outside. As long as they keep this corridor, they don't have to worry about someone killing him. At this time, they are ambushed in several rooms on both sides of the corridor. They point the muzzle of the gun to the end of the corridor through the doors and windows. As long as the mysterious enemy in the picture just now enters the corridor, they will fall into their ambush circle completely. As special elites, they are confident to defeat him and capture him. This is not blind self-confidence, but full preparation. In this long and narrow corridor, they have already set up a vast network of traps and bombs on both sides of the corridor, which can be triggered at any time by remote control. Even if he is really an alien, once he falls into the trap they carefully arrange, he can only be defeated in front of the overwhelming force. However, although they were well prepared, these elite special fighters did not relax at all. According to the information they received when they accepted the mission, these mysterious enemies were very powerful and killed more than half of the warlords in Africa in just one night, leaving almost no trace. So far, there is no conclusion about their origin and purpose, but there is no doubt that they have powerful technology and weapons, and their strength is very strong and mysterious. Although they have made careful preparations, these special soldiers still dare not take it lightly. After all, the enemy this time is too mysterious and special. Just when all the soldiers were on guard at the end of the corridor and ready to attack at any time, the soldiers in charge of monitoring found that the mysterious tall figure in the screen suddenly turned to the camera. Although the mask of the sci-fi black tights blocked his eyes, the soldier felt cold all over, as if he had been watched by some kind of horrible beast. Was it found? This idea just came to his mind. Before he could respond, the mysterious enemy suddenly raised his silver spear towards the camera. In the soldier's puzzled eyes, A hazy air ripple suddenly shot out from the tip of the spear, almost instantaneously flew to the camera, and then the picture on the combat computer screen fell into a darkness. Obviously, the hidden camera was damaged. They put more than one camera on the top of the building. The soldier quickly switched between other pictures, only to find that all the pictures of the cameras turned into darkness. "Captain, he found our cameras on the roof and destroyed them all." The soldier who found out the situation quickly reported to the captain. "Besides, his spear is not an ordinary cold weapon. It can carry out some kind of long-range attack. Our camera was destroyed by him from a distance with a spear." The captain's face became more severe. "Switch to the picture in the building, continue monitoring." When he finished speaking to the soldiers around him, the captain quickly sent a warning to the other soldiers through the talker. "Everyone, the enemy spear has a long-range attack ability. Its power is unknown. Please be careful." At this time, the soldier in charge of monitoring has switched the picture to a staircase connecting the roof of the building on the 3rd floor. The iron door in the picture is followed by the roof. If the enemy wants to come in, he must pass here first. Chapter 185. And the iron lock on the door is still intact, which means that he still hasn't come in on the roof. Just as everyone was waiting for them, a loud noise suddenly accompanied by a violent vibration came from the crowd, and the whole building seemed to shake. Before they could respond, there was another loud noise coming. This time, the sound was louder than before, and the vibration they felt was stronger, and the direction of the sound was behind them. Behind them, the room where the warlord was the target of the mission. "No, he blasted the floor directly from above. The target is in danger." The leader of the special forces quickly responded and rushed to the room behind him with his team. The room they ambushed was next to the one where the warlord lived. After they came out of the room, they only needed to run a few steps to get there. They just rushed out of their respective ambush rooms, and the first reaction came. The team leader who ran in the front only ran 2 steps ahead of them, a few steps away from the door. A shot suddenly came from behind the door. Bang! The leader at the front of the team changed his face and said that it was not good. He added a few more forces at his feet and rushed to the door in front of him at full speed. Touch! The strong door was kicked open by the captain who rushed to it. After the door opened, the scene in the room showed in his eyes. He saw the tall and majestic figure like a human beast in the surveillance picture. He was standing in the middle of the room with a spear in his hand, and there was a big hole with a diameter of nearly 2 meters on the ceiling of his head. Obviously, as the captain guessed, the mysterious enemy directly destroyed the 2 floors and entered the target's room from above. This not only shows that he has a powerful destructive weapon that can blow up 2 floors in a short time, but also exposes that he knows the target location very well. On the top of the building, he accurately locates the location of the target room, cleanly destroys the floor, bypasses them, lays many traps, guards the corridor, and avoids their defense, directly in front of the target. As for the target they protected, the warlord had fallen to the ground, and a wound on his chest was bleeding. Obviously, he could not live. When the captain broke in and found the enemy's figure, the rifle in his hand quickly pointed to the past. When he found the warlord lying on the ground and had been killed, his eyes couldn't help but sink. One of their tasks this time is to protect the warlord who is closely related to them. Now that the warlord is killed, their task of protection has failed. In any case, they should leave the mysterious enemy, alive or dead. The muzzle of the gun firmly locked the tall figure in the room. The captain quickly stepped out 2 steps to the room under his feet and let the door behind him open. The team members who followed him quickly penetrated from the door and spread to both sides against the wall. The muzzle of the gun in his hand was aimed at the strong figure. "Don't move." Apart from Eric Kermango, who is in charge of the palace of Wakanda, who has a giant size, there is only Mubaku. After jumping from the stealth fighter to the roof of the building where the target is located, Mubaku found several cameras around. After destroying all the cameras with the acoustic gun of the gold vibrating spear, Mubaku used the acoustic gun of the spear to directly break the floor and jump into the room where the target was located according to the target position detected by the previous fighter. When the warlord in the room broke the first floor of the top floor in Mbaku, he took out his pistol vigilantly in the explosion sound. When the ceiling above his head was blown open, he pointed the pistol directly at the hole which was blasted out by the sound wave. When Mubaku suddenly jumped down from above, the general, who has been fighting for hundreds of years, directly fell from the air, and he pulled the trigger. "Want to kill me? Dream." After receiving the news that a large number of African warlords were killed last night, the general immediately contacted his allies and has been secretly supporting his foreign forces. Now there are more than a dozen elite special soldiers in the corridor outside. As long as he can slightly contain the enemy who came to assassinate him, the reinforcements outside can quickly arrive and take the enemy down. But even though he used his shooting skills, experience and adaptability to launch an attack on Mubaku when he jumped from upstairs, that was all. Although the bullet from his pistol hit the target, it was blocked by the strange tight combat suit he was wearing, which could not cause any damage to him. Before he could pull the trigger again and launch a second attack, the spear in Mbaku's hand struck him like lightning. The sharp Zhenjin spear pierced his chest without any block, completely pierced his heart, and the whole body blood with all the strength of his body quickly lost. The fingers on the trigger can't pull the trigger. I look down at my chest in disbelief. In the cut of the spear, the red blood is bubbling out. The look in the general's eyes gradually disappeared, and the hand holding the gun could not hold the gun anymore. The pistol that accompanied him for many years slipped from his hand and fell to the ground, and the whole man fell back heavily. After killing the target, Mbaku took back his spear and was about to leap out of the hole above. When he came back, the only door in the room was suddenly kicked out. A group of elite special soldiers came in from the door, all of their rifles pointed at him. Facing the muzzle of more than 10 rifles, Mbaku didn't have any worries. Although his battle suit didn't have the powerful defense of Panther's battle suit, it was able to resist the attack of ordinary guns, so those muzzle pointing at him didn't have any threat in his eyes. Scornfully glanced at a dozen special soldiers on guard at the door. Mbaku put up his telescopic spear and leaned slightly. Then he pushed his legs down hard. The giant animal's tall and majestic figure was like a sharp arrow off the string. He jumped up from the hole in the ceiling and disappeared in the sight of everyone below. Mubaku's huge size and fierce and violent momentum put great pressure on a group of special soldiers who surrounded him on the side of the room. Chapter 186. In case he comes straight, they are not sure whether the weapons in their hands can stop him. All of them were in high spirits. Their rifles were firmly locked in Mbaku, and their fingers were on the trigger ready to attack. Therefore, when Mbaku's body shape suddenly began to move, the special soldiers with high nervous tension did not hesitate to pull the trigger. A dozen automatic rifles spit out fire snakes, and dense bullets came out of the chamber, covering the whole god of Mbaku. However, Mbaku's speed was too fast. 5 times of ordinary people's huge power broke out. He jumped up from the hole in the ceiling above and disappeared into the public sight. All the bullets that came after him were lost. Even his shadow didn't touch, and all of them hit the back wall. Damn it! At the same time, the captain stopped the attack and quickly ran under the hole. Standing where Mbaku was, the captain looked up at the hole in the ceiling above his head. At the same time, the rifle in his hand was raised, and the muzzle pointed to the hole. Above the hole is a room on the 3rd floor. When he was setting up the defense, he went to check it and locked the door. At this time, through the big holes in the ceiling, you can clearly see the scene in the room. Unfortunately, there is no Mubaku in the room. Only one big hole on the third-floor ceiling is the same as the one below, with a diameter of nearly 2 meters. Through these two big holes, you can directly see the outside sky. From here, M'Baku directly crossed the barrier of the third floor, entered the room below, and killed the warlord. Immediately after the captain, other special soldiers rushed forward quickly, forming a circle under the hole and pointing their guns at the top. Although the story height of this building is less than 3 meters, they can't easily jump up like M'Baku. When they cooperate with each other to climb up, people will run away for a long time. Moreover, who knows that he will not ambush on it, waiting for them to go up when each one breaks it. Under their intense vigilance, there was no movement above, only a white cloud floating gently in the blue sky outside the cave. It seems that the powerful enemy who just appeared and disappeared, acting as fast as the wind, has left. Yu Guang glanced at the warlord's body lying on the ground. The captain's face was very gloomy. Their task this time was a complete failure. The target of protection was infiltrated by the enemy from above and killed directly. After that, they left easily when they were pointed by more than 10 rifles, but they didn't even touch the corners of other people's clothes. This time, they could be said to be a tragic failure. Look! The team leader was about to order the team to be closed, but one of the team members suddenly pointed at the top and shouted. When they heard that, they looked up again and saw a transparent ripple in the blue sky outside the cave. If they didn't look carefully, they wouldn't notice it at all. It happened that a white cloud floated over the ripples. Against the white background, 3 faint blue light clusters distributed in a triangle appeared from the ripples. Soon, however, the ripples were completely integrated with the background and the 3 pale blue light clusters disappeared. Everyone who saw this scene was shocked. Is it an alien spaceship? At a glance just now, the powerful figure is not like a huge human figure. Is it really an alien? Report to the superior immediately. In the stealth fighter, M'Baku took off his helmet and said to the pilot, "Target solved, go to the next location." Yes, the action just now seems simple. It seems that with the help of the detection function of fighter plane and the power of sonic gun, any ordinary soldier can complete it, but it is not as simple as it seems. Although they have bypassed the outside traps, the special fighters are very close to the target. If they find something wrong, they can quickly return to the target room for protection. M'Baku is also full open. After using sonic gun to destroy 2 floors quickly, he jumped 6 meters from the top of the building, jumped into the target room on the 2nd floor, and stabbed him to death with a spear. At his speed, he had just killed the target and was rushed in by the special soldiers outside before he could evacuate. That is to say, after the strengthening of super soldier serum, M'Baku's physical quality is far beyond ordinary people. When his strength breaks out, he can jump up the stairs directly over 3 meters, which makes him so easy to escape. If other elite soldiers in Wakanda were to be stopped by them, they would not be able to escape easily without a fierce battle. Even before he can kill the target, he will be stopped. When he has solved these elite special soldiers, a large number of soldiers under the warlord will almost arrive. At that time, the assassination will become a forced attack, adding a lot of troubles and variables. Even if they finish the task at last, the impact will be very big, which is not consistent with their original intention. The tasks of Tekara, Tekaka, and Zuli were also carried out smoothly. They fought against these tough targets, and the beheading operation was carried out rapidly. The assassination of all targets was completed that afternoon, and the warlords in Africa were cleaned up. In the first step of unifying Africa, the beheading operation has been successfully completed, and what is needed next is no longer force. Hidden behind the scenes, the Hydra and the Shendan Bureau began to work. 2 huge organizations, which had been operating secretly for decades, had amazing power in their hands. Once they broke out at this moment, their power would be enough to change the world. All the warlords in Africa were assassinated in one day, and none of them remained. Except for the regular army controlled by African governments, all the troops fell into a state of headless. But soon, under the influence of an invisible force, some officers who had already enjoyed great prestige in these troops took over the command of the army quickly with the support of another part of the people. Those officers who wanted to take advantage of the generals who had been in power to be killed and fight for military power were all quietly killed, and all opposition voices were wiped out. One army order was quickly restored, and there was no insurrection or military change. In these sensitive organizations, Hydra and Shendan Bureau have arranged a large number of personnel for a long time, many of whom have leaped to the top by virtue of their outstanding abilities. Taking advantage of this opportunity of being without a leader, they launched together and won the control of the army smoothly. Most of the people assigned by Hydra and Shendan Bureau to these warlords have certain rights in hands. Chapter 187. Although it's not easy to kill the powerful warlords with powerful guards, and they need to take great risks, it's still easy to kill a few officers who covet military power when there are no leaders and the army is in chaos. In addition, they had been prepared to launch a collective campaign at the first time when warlords were killed, and it was reasonable for them to succeed in seizing the control of the army without any intention. All this happened very quickly. The European and American countries, who wanted to take the opportunity to support their spokesmen, had not yet taken action. The change of power had been completed, and they had no chance to intervene anymore. Some of the members of these countries who were still in these forces were also invited out. With the completion of the control of the African army, the next step can be followed. The penetration and control of Hydra and Aegis to the world are not only in the armed forces, but also in many African countries. In the upheaval that affected the whole African continent, many warlords controlling the majority of African armed forces were all assassinated in one day, and the military power of the majority of African forces immediately changed. For a while, the situation in Africa became complicated and chaotic. There were differences and contradictions among the high-level governments of African countries on how to deal with the upheaval, and then conflict broke out. A lot of uncertainties and intense unease have made the political situation of African countries fall into violent turbulence, in which the nine-headed snake and the Shendan Bureau personnel have contributed to the intensification of the contradictions. And finally, taking advantage of the chaotic political situation, they have directly seized the control of the government. Of course, in the eyes of the outside world, this is only the power struggle and the change of office within the country caused by the political discord under the military coup, and it is the high-level government of their own country who is in power. As the warlords who directly control the army have been eliminated, the remaining regular forces controlled by the government have not been in turmoil, nor have they intervened in the power struggle among the senior levels of the government, or they have not yet had time to participate. Chen Mo's plan of action has long been communicated through the Hydra and the Shield Bureau. These spies have been prepared for a long time, but others have been caught by the upheaval that has affected Africa. They are unprepared to deal with it in a hurry. They did not expect that someone has calculated them secretly and guided them step by step perish. During the whole process, Chen and Mo took full control of the development of the situation and didn't give them a chance to overturn the situation. The military only watched the senior government fight. Before they had time to think about what to do, they had finished fighting, so the power alternation was carried out smoothly. The new high-level governments of all countries have not taken any action against those warlords. Similarly, the new warlords who have just been in power have not taken any unusual actions. It seems that the two sides have agreed on a general agreement, digesting and consolidating their newly acquired rights, and maintaining a rare peace. After the military and political upheaval, the whole of Africa suddenly changed the chaos of war in the past and entered a period of exceptionally stable peace. However, it seems that some larger undercurrent is accumulating in it, waiting for the final outbreak. In this period of time, African governments did not do nothing. When all the armed forces contracted their forces and stayed still, they took advantage of this rare period of stability and launched rescue operations. Because of the war, the rescue is very difficult and dangerous. It often happens that rescuers are killed by armed elements. Now all the fighting is stopped, and the rescue is normal. African countries launched a rapid campaign to rescue the refugees suffering from war and famine. A large number of human and material resources were mobilized. Doctors, nurses, medicines, medical equipment, food, drinking water, tents, clothing, etc. were successively arriving in various regions. However, the strength of these countries is still limited. In the face of countless refugees, they can provide far less goods. So all countries began to ask for help from other countries. But it is strange that they only asked for help from African countries. They would rather ask for help from African countries that are poorer than themselves than from developed countries in Europe and America. Therefore, a natural local rescue operation launched after the upheaval of various countries has evolved into a joint rescue operation in the whole Africa. The rescue aircraft and rescue personnel of various countries do not know national boundaries and are unimpeded on the African continent. A vigorous joint rescue operation is launched in Africa. Although some European and American countries can't understand it, for them, the rescue operation is a business at a loss. Apart from occasionally sending a small amount of aid to show off, they are not willing to waste a lot of human and material resources to help these African people who have nothing to do with them. Compared with humanitarian aid, they are more willing to send troops and provide military services assistance. Because humanitarian aid is free, no good, and behind military aid, there are huge benefits. If you don't do good business, fool will help you. They are happy to stand on the sidelines and watch the strange actions of African countries. The rescue of African refugees is a bottomless hole, not only with no benefits, but also with no money. They need to see how these poor and backward African countries can finally end up. It's estimated that they have to ask for help from these big countries. At that time, it will hinder international influence, so they have to send some symbolic rescue and make a show. But what happened next was obviously beyond their expectation. In this joint rescue operation across the whole African continent, a small poor country, which was unknown and dominated by agriculture and animal husbandry, suddenly broke out with amazing power and stood out among all African countries and became the main force of this joint rescue. Its name is Wakanda. There are dozens of villages, large and small, around a dried-up lake on a vast, barren and arid grassland. The lake has been dried up for a long time. There is only a deep well under the rock wall on the lakeshore. There is a small amount of fresh water, which supplies drinking water for tens of villages and thousands of people nearby. The water that everyone can get every day is poor, and only enough to maintain the most basic survival. The severe drought caused a large number of deaths of plants. Animals have left, looking for new water, and their food has become very scarce. Many people are skinny and can fall down at any time and then can no longer stand up. In this land where water is scarce and food is scarce, people die of dehydration and hunger every day. Chapter 188. They don't want to leave here and go to other places with water and food, but their weak body and lack of food and fresh water don't allow them to travel long distances at all. Not to mention that other water sources are likely to be as dry as here. The distance alone is a huge obstacle. Their greatest possibility is that they will die on the way of migration. No one has tried before. Many people don't want to wait for death. They leave their wives, children, and family members to explore alone, and none of them come back. If they find enough food and fresh water, they can't leave their families behind, so their end is obvious. Slowly, no one dares to try. It's better to maintain it. At least it can survive. Maybe a miracle will happen one day. In the early morning before dawn, all the people gathered at the water well on the lake bank with their own simple containers, waiting for the respected old patriarch to distribute fresh water for a day. After a night, some fresh water was accumulated in the well. In the morning, the air temperature is slightly cool. There is no sun baking. The earth and air have not become hot and dry. At this time, the well water level is also the highest in the day. All the people stood in line, holding their pots, pans, and plastic bottles, waiting for the old patriarch to pour them a spoonful of fresh water with his shaking hands. Everyone was in line. No one was fighting, although the old clan leader seemed to be able to fall down with a little push. Before, it wasn't that no one wanted to share more water, even someone wanted to occupy the well, but the water in the well was related to the lives of all people and their families. Robbing their water was equivalent to taking their lives, which was unacceptable to anyone. Those who are tall and strong, or who are trying to grab more fresh water by joining forces, even have no ability to drink water at this time. In front of the strength of the masses, anyone who is trying to harm the interests of others has only one way to lose. A bucket of clear water was lifted from the well, divided by the old patriarch, and the long team was also less and less. Those who draw water, pour water, and lead water are all careful in their actions, lest they spill even a drop. When the sun rises completely, the water team has come to the end, and the air begins to get hot. The water on the surface of the soil is quickly dried, evaporated, and the surface temperature rises rapidly. The air begins to become twisted, and the whole land enters the barbecue mode again. Next to the well on the lakeshore, the last man carefully left with a bowl of well water mixed with a little sand. The old patriarch helped several young people and himself to draw water for him. After each of them shared the same amount of water, he poured the rest of the well water back into the well together with the fine sand at the bottom of the bucket. Old patriarch, there is less and less water in the well every day. The last few barrels are not enough. The water is mixed with sand. It's all over, the old patriarch sighed helplessly. Well, I can only support one day now. He has done everything he can. Now everyone's daily share of water is the lowest limit for survival. If it is reduced, a large number of people will die because of lack of water. Now he has no other way but to pray for miracles. The old patriarch looked around the well with a heavy heart. Because of the serious lack of water and malnutrition, the weak ethnic people can't bear the short journey from their village to the well every day. So they simply moved their family around the well and set up simple tents on the dried lake bed and in the shade beside the lake bank. Hundreds of shabby tents that thousands of people live in were scattered around the well. Some of the people who had received fresh water had drunk it directly at that time. Some had returned to their tents and drank it slowly. For them now, this little bottle of fresh water is the most precious thing in the world and the source of their life. Just as the old patriarch looked at the people who were living hard and facing death threat at any time, when he was sad, the wind suddenly rose in the originally calm air. The rags on the simple tent began to shake gently, and the old patriarch could feel that suddenly, the wind blowing in front of him seemed to be gradually getting bigger. At the same time, a huge shadow appeared on the ground, and a strange low sound came from the sky. The old patriarch couldn't help looking up at the sky, only saw a huge black figure appeared in the sky above them, cast a huge shadow on the ground, and slowly pressed down towards the bottom. The people in the tent were also shocked by the strange sound. They slowly climbed out of the tent one by one and looked up into the sky above. As the huge figure slowly descended and got closer to them, they gradually saw what it looked like. This is a huge aircraft with black body. There are two circular propellers on the left and right sides, which are shooting light blue flame downward. The airflow they feel comes from this. In everyone's shocked eyes, as if they saw an alien spaceship, the huge aircraft slowly landed on a clearing beside the well. The strange low voice disappeared immediately, and the sudden wind calmed down instantly. The cloth dancing on the tent fell down again, and the dust blown by the wind dissipated gradually. Its whole picture is also fully displayed in front of the public. This aircraft is very huge, with a length of more than 50 meters and a width of more than 30 meters. The whole body is roughly rectangular, which is different from the slender fuselage of an aircraft. It looks very thick. In addition to the 4 thrusters integrated with the fuselage, the rest are all engine rooms, without the huge wings of general aircraft, and the internal space is even larger. All of them are powered by 4 thrusters on both sides of the fuselage for flight and vertical takeoff and landing. The sharp edges and corners of the fuselage, full of science fiction, show a strange black luster in the hot sun. It seems that all the sunlight is absorbed by it, without any reflection. In the face of the sudden emergence of the giant, all people cannot help but carefully around, that is, curious about its origin, but dare not too far ahead. Deep in the prairie, they haven't even seen ordinary airplanes, let alone this advanced aircraft that has caused a sensation in developed countries. With the help of the young people, the old patriarch came down to the side of the aircraft and looked at this strange and huge thing with shock. His heart was excited and looked forward to it. Chapter 189. They are now in such a bad situation that they can't get any worse. This unexpected flying thing may change them. As thousands of African tribesmen gradually gathered around the aircraft, there was a sudden sound of exhaust from the tail of the aircraft. At the bottom of the tail, a huge hatch more than 10 meters wide is slowly opening, and turning down, it is connected to the ground below, forming a wide slope. Then, under the eyes of many people, who were uncertain or full of expectation, a group of more than a dozen black soldiers, who were tall and big, with shining metal spears in their hands, stepped out of the aircraft and came to the ground along the slope. Seeing this, the old patriarch quickly broke away from the hands of the young people who supported him and hobbled forward. "Distinguished guests, you come to our tribe, don't know why." In the face of the old man's inquiry, one of the leading soldiers stood up straight and replied loudly, "We are the United African Rescue Team of the Kingdom of Wakanda, which will assist you at the request of your government." Here, but is it really the case? That's great. Although I had the idea of fluke in my heart before, I really heard it from these mysterious visitors. The old patriarch couldn't believe it. Is a miracle really going to happen? The surrounding tribal people are also excited. These people, who are very powerful at first sight, are here to help them. Just look at the huge aircraft they are flying in, we can know their strength. They will be able to solve their current difficulties. Finally, they are saved. Then, a truck drove out of the huge cabin, unloading a lot of food and fresh water and other materials. Under the organization of the old clan leader, the excited tribal people did not rush in, but lined up neatly to get supplies. Doctors and nurses in white coats began to treat some extremely weak and sick refugees. The land, once in a state of stillness and despair, finally recovered some vitality. The Wakanda rescue team, which came down from the sky, gave them hope for life. At the same time of distributing materials and treating patients here on the other side, a strange vehicle, bigger than other trucks, slowly drove out of the engine room, and then drove to a vacant lot tens of meters away from the aircraft's stop, and stopped. Then, a low sound of mechanical operation came from the car. 4 supporting arms were slowly extended from both sides of the car body, which firmly fixed the whole car body. Then, a 10-meter-high, heavy steel structure tower slowly rose up, standing there high, and attracted the eyes of many tribal people. After the tower was erected, with the low sound of mechanical operation, a cylindrical iron column in the middle of the tower began to rotate at a high speed. After watching for a while, they found that there was no other change, and then the confused tribal people all looked away and again focused on the materials being distributed. After a period of busyness, all people finally received their own first aid supplies, especially when they got food and fresh water. All of them were excited to express their gratitude to the Wakanda soldiers who distributed the supplies. These food and fresh water are their hope for survival. However, after receiving the food and water, no one began to eat it directly. Most people carefully collected the food, even if there were really hungry people who could not. They just ate a little and then stopped. They have been living in the environment of food shortage for a long time, and many people around them have not been able to carry them, while the living people know the value of these foods and fresh water better. They don't know if there will be another rescue after this rescue, so they don't dare to extravagantly fill their stomachs when they are hungry. As long as they are not so hungry, the rest of the food will save their lives at a critical time. Although the Wakanda soldiers of the rescue team saw this, they did not try to persuade them to eat more. Now they lack a sense of security. When they are sure that they will not starve again and have enough water, they will naturally change their ideas and not rush at this time. Just as everyone focused on the precious living materials they had just received, there was a familiar sound from the strange vehicles that had been ignored before. Whoop, whoop, whoop. People attracted by the sound once again turned their eyes to the large vehicle with the tower erected. What they saw next shocked everyone in the tribe, only to see, with the high-speed rotation of the straight steel shaft in the middle of the tall tower frame, a stream of water suddenly gushed out from the ground. At first, it also carried some turbid silt, but soon became clear. The crystal-clear water reflected the dazzling brilliance in the sun, which was more beautiful and valuable than diamonds. It's water. My God, we have water! For this far-reaching and large-scale rescue operation throughout the African continent, Wakanda has made full plans and preparations. When the time is right and the joint rescue operation is officially launched, hundreds of advanced and huge vertical takeoff and landing transport planes with strong transport capacity and strong performance, carrying a large number of rescue materials and the most important deep drilling equipment, rush to the most urgent areas in Africa. In addition to the known areas of African countries, their assistance targets also include many remote tribes which are located in remote areas and whose situation is not yet under the control of governments. Through the investigation and scanning of the whole African continent by satellite, every area inhabited by human beings has been screened, and all the targets in need of rescue have been screened out, and the tasks have been assigned to each rescue transport aircraft according to the order of urgency. Each transport plane is an independent rescue team. In the future, they will travel across the African continent and rescue people in desperate situations according to their assigned tasks. The main body of the transport plane, their clothes and materials are all printed with the flag of Wakanda and the logo of Black Leopard Head. The name of the mysterious and powerful Wakanda has also been praised throughout the African continent with the launch of this vigorous joint rescue operation. While the rescue operation was in full swing, and all the plans were carried out according to the plan, Chenmo left Wakanda quietly and returned to the Chinese martial arts school in Brooklyn, New York. At this time, it's only half a month since Chenmo left. Chapter 190. In the past half a month, Chenmo has done a lot of things. After realizing the existence of Wakanda, Chen first secretly returned to the top-secret base of Norway's Hydra headquarters, where he systematically looked up all intelligence materials related to Wakanda and found out Eric Kermango, a Hydra agent with the status of a member of the Wakanda royal family. Then Chenmo strengthened him with super soldier serum and used Ulysses Crow's body as a stepping stone to help him step by step to the throne of the king of the kingdom of Wakanda, and then began to unify a series of actions and layout of the whole Africa. Now it seems that everything is going smoothly. Because Chenmo's action was decisive and rapid, he took Eric Kermango back to Wakan to win the throne, and then to execute the beheading operation. He secretly controlled the military and political circles in Africa, and finally promoted the joint rescue operation in Africa. This series of actions and great changes happened in a very short time, so Chenmo came out of the martial arts school again at that time. Only a dozen days passed, which did not arouse the suspicion of the people in charge of spying on him outside the martial arts school. Although he did a lot of things and directed a series of great changes in Africa, he only showed up in Wakanda, and Wakanda itself is very hidden, so no one outside knows his connection with this series of events in Africa. Chenmo's trip to Africa was a fruitful one. Wakanda relies on the high-end technology developed by Super Metal Zhenjin, which in many aspects has far exceeded the technology level of each of the most developed countries, almost comparable to the technological strength of Hydra. Especially, Wakanda has a top technological talent. Her sister, Princess Suri, is a girl with high intelligence and a top-level technical talent, no less than Tony Stark. Now many high-end technologies of Wakanda are developed and broken through under her leadership. If Wakanda used to take decades to make their technologies 10 years ahead of the world, then in her hands, Wakanda only took a few years, then the gap was widened to 20 years. Acoustic gun, energy shield, Kimyuju, aircraft power engine and other technologies have been strengthened in her hands. Now, she is devoting all her efforts to develop nanotechnology, but it has not yet been successful. Once the final development is successful, the Panther battle suit can be directly put into a necklace-sized device, which can be released in just a few seconds and cover the whole body. At that time, it will be very convenient and fast to wear the Panther's battle clothes, and the adaptability will be greatly enhanced. Chenmo can't help her. Hydra hasn't achieved much in this respect. She has to rely on her own to do research step by step. However, according to her own opinion, the research has made some progress and should not take long to achieve. It's been a while since he left the martial arts school in secret and disappeared in front of the public. It's doubtful for a long time, and he's not needed here for the time being. So after copying all the scientific and technological materials of Wakanda, Chenmo left Eric Kermango to rule his kingdom and continue to implement the plan of African unity, while he left quietly open the Wakanda. After leaving, Chenmo did not directly return to New York. Before that, he went back to Norway's Hydra headquarters. He still has an important thing to do, which must be done in an absolutely safe place. One of the main harvests of the trip to Wakanda is the heart-shaped herbal medicine. This magical plant, born under the special energy radiation of Zhenjin, has the same ability as the super soldier serum. After taking it, it can greatly improve people's abilities and physical quality. The difference is that its safety is higher than the improved serum, and its body shape will not change much. But the only disadvantage is that, when it is strengthened, people will fall into a coma state, just like death, and completely lose the defense ability to the outside world. Therefore, Chenmo must be in a safe place to take heart-shaped herbs and strengthen them. There is only one place in the world where Chenmo can take heart-shaped herbs and fall into a coma without worrying about his safety. That is the Hydra headquarters. It is located in the deep Scandinavian mountains in northern Norway. Its location is very hidden and unknown to anyone outside. In addition, its internal well-guarded and extremely strong defense system, as well as its loyal nine-headed snake members, can hardly cause any danger. If you want to ask Chenmo's most trusted person in the world, it's Eddie Abbott. With him, Chenmo can be absolutely assured that even if he falls into a complete coma after taking heart-shaped herbs, Chenmo will not worry about his safety. In Chenmo's huge office, where the Hydra headquarters belongs, Chenmo leans on a wide chair and takes a heart-shaped herb from the space and puts it into his mouth. Gyudong. As soon as Chenmo chewed, the heart-shaped herbal medicine in his mouth turned into a cool liquid, which was swallowed by Chenmo. Chenmo can feel a clear stream flowing down the esophagus into the stomach and quickly spread to the whole body. Where the current passed, Chenmo's already very powerful cells began to evolve again. His skin, muscles, bones, viscera, and other parts of the body became stronger than before. But at the same time, Chenmo's brain is also changing. Under the influence of this change, Chenmo's consciousness begins to become drowsy. Although Chenmo tries to keep awake, with the full play of heart-shaped herbs, the brain changes more and more violently, and the feeling of drowsiness becomes stronger and stronger. Finally, Chenmo's consciousness still failed to resist the sleepiness from the deep brain, fell into a coma. Chenmo at this time can be said to be the most vulnerable time. A gun can kill him. At the door of his office, Eddie Abbott personally led Colonel John, the base defense captain, and a group of the most elite nine-headed snake soldiers, all armed guard at the door. At the same time, both inside and outside the base have entered the highest level of vigilance. Every channel and key position has been heavily guarded. With the current power system on Earth, no one can break through their defense and enter Chenmo's office. That's why Chenmo went back to Hydra Base to strengthen. In fact, the strengthening process of heart-shaped herbs does not take too long. A few minutes later, Chenmo, who was lying on the chair, slowly opened his eyes and his sharp eyes flashed away. Chapter 191. Taking heart-shaped herbs this time, Chenmo's strength has been greatly improved. The physical quality of 7 times ordinary people has increased to 8 times. Although it seems that the improvement is not great, the comprehensive strength has been greatly improved. The strength, speed, reaction, perception, cell vitality, recovery ability, muscle and bone strength of the body, etc. are all improved together, which makes Chenmo's strength soar again, and his fighting power become more and more powerful. Moreover, this kind of promotion is not only 7 to 8. The overall strength has more than doubled. At this time, Chenmo can easily defeat himself before strengthening. Even 1 to 2 is absolutely at ease. This is not the biggest change in Chenmo's body. The strengthening effect of heart-shaped herbs is much stronger than Chenmo expected. It does not refer to the physical quality, but the brain's strengthening and mental strength improvement. There is no reason for Chenmo to fall into coma in the process of strengthening. Super Soldier Serum strengthens all aspects of the whole body in a very balanced way. The enhancement of brain and physical quality is almost the same, while heart-shaped herbs are different. Its enhancement of the brain as well as the promotion of mental strength should be above the physical quality. It's just different from Chenmo. They don't have special mental abilities. In essence, they are ordinary people. Their mental abilities are limited and can't be improved infinitely like Chenmo. Therefore, the stronger effect of heart-shaped herbs is not obvious in them. Just to make their brain more developed, smarter, wiser, better leadership and development of Wakanda, which is one of the main reasons for Wakanda's rapid development over the years. The only function of mental strength strengthening is to enable them to enter into their own spiritual world when strengthening, and have a spiritual exchange with their deceased relatives, which is actually a short illusion formed by the overflow of mental strength. The great strengthening effect of heart-shaped herbs on mental power has been fully demonstrated in Chen Mo. After taking heart-shaped herbs, Chen Mo's spiritual strength has been greatly improved. Originally, the space with a side length of 5 meters and a volume of 125 cubic meters has been directly expanded to a side length of 10 meters, and the volume has also increased to an amazing 1,000 cubic meters, which is equivalent to the volume of a 3-story small Western building covering an area of 100 square meters. The volume of the whole space has skyrocketed nearly 10 times. From the original small warehouse, it has been upgraded to a large warehouse. The variety and quantity of things it can hold have greatly increased. In the past, it could hold up to one off-road vehicle, but now it can hold several heavy main battle tanks. Many large-scale materials that could not be accommodated before can be put into the space. The strategic value of the space has been greatly improved. It is no longer the small backpack that can only accommodate some throwing knives and magazines. Even a small helicopter can be put down, which can be of great use at the critical moment. Of course, for Chen Mo today, he has a better choice. With the strong technological strength of Hydra and Wakanda, he can easily make vehicles of appropriate size for him to use according to his needs, provided that he needs more. After giving all the scientific and technological materials copied from Wakanda to Albert, Chen Mo didn't stop at Hydra and returned to the martial arts school in secret. As for the unified plan of the African continent, he has already arranged it. With the help of Hydra and Shendan, everything is going very well. The name of Wakanda is spreading rapidly throughout the continent. Now he only waits for the right time to carry out the next plan. New York, Brooklyn, Chinese Martial Arts School. Chen Mo points out Wang Jin's Kung Fu for a while, then sits on the sofa with Wang Kun and drinks tea. Starting from the antique teacup years ago, Chen Mo drinks all the tea in the cup, then puts down the teacup, looks out of the window of the martial arts school in the bright and warm sunshine, and slowly stands up from the sofa. It's time for me to go back. Hearing this, Wang Kun quickly put down the teapot that was ready to continue to add water to Chen Mo, stood up immediately, and turned to Wang Jin, his great-grandson, who was standing with his hands down. Don't drive yet. Send your grandfather back. After Wang Jin roared, Wang Kun turned to look at Chen Mo, and his face suddenly became gentle. He said respectfully, "The owner, let Jin drive you back. It's not easy to take a taxi here." Chen Mo looks at Wang Jin with a look of expectation and nods gently. "All right." Wang Jin, hearing his face brightened, grabbed the car key from the table and rushed out first. It's also a great honor for Chen Mo to be a driver and drive his legendary grandfather personally. If you want to be a driver for Chen Mo, no one can have this qualification. The last person who drove Chen Mo was more than 70 years ago. After that, he became Chen Mo's guard captain. At that time, he was already a powerful man. He is the second person of Hydra except Chen Mo, who is only under Eddie Abbott. He is the defense chief in charge of Hydra's military and defense forces, Colonel John Wolfe. After Wang Jinchang went out, Chen Mo, accompanied by Wang Kun, pushed open the gate of the martial arts school and walked out slowly. The intelligence personnel who were monitoring the martial arts school in the distance reported the situation to them. In these 10 days, although they have been staying near the martial arts school, they can only monitor far away. They can't get close at all, let alone know the trend of Chen Mo in the martial arts school. This is Brooklyn. It's the sphere of influence of the 7 commandments. It's also the most important core area for them than the headquarters. The defense is very strict. The shops and buildings around the martial arts school are all the people of the 7 commandments. Any strange faces will be found on this street in an instant, and they will be closely monitored. Once they find anything wrong, they will be quickly controlled. Get up. There's no chance to get close. But although they don't know what he did in the martial arts school, At least they can be sure that Chen Mo has never been out of the martial arts school. Chen Mo fails to pay attention to the surveillance personnel sent by the government and various forces. They have no influence on Chen Mo. Chen Mo knows his existence and actions as well as plays with them. However, they know nothing about Chen Mo's real whereabouts. All they see, hear, and understand is what Chen Mo wants them to know. Chen Mo, accompanied by Wang Kun, walked out of the martial arts school slowly. Chapter 192. Just as they were standing at the door, a deep and powerful roar of the car engine came. A very cool black sports car from afar as fast as the wind, accompanied by a burst of rapid brake sound in Chen Mo's side of the steady stop. This sports car is different from the streamlined design of ordinary sports cars. Its body has clear edges and corners, strong sense of line, rich sense of hierarchy, and three-dimensional, giving people a strong feeling full of power and explosive force. This car reminds Chen Mo of Batman's car in a movie he has seen. However, compared with the Super Chariot, this sports car is much weaker, just a relatively tough and cool sports car. After Chen Mo stops in front of him, the scissor door on the right side slowly opens upward, while Wang Jin is sitting in the driver's seat. Chen Mo nodded to Wang Kun, who was beside him. He rode into the car and the door lowered slowly. The cool sports car roared again and disappeared on the street in the distance under Wang Kun's eyes. In the car, Chen Mo looks at Wang Jin, who is a little excited and at a loss. He can't help but smile. He was accompanied by Wang Kun, his great-grandfather, several times before. He just stood by as a younger generation, carrying tea and pouring water. Wang Kun was also on the side when Chen Mo taught him Kung Fu. This time, when he was driving for Chen Mo, he got along with Chen Mo alone for the first time. For his mysterious grandfather, the legendary existence, the superhero who has saved the world, even if he has been in contact with him for several times, Wang Jin is still a little excited to sit at such a close distance. Besides, without the grandfather who is familiar with Chen Mo, Wang Jin is at a loss when walking alone. He doesn't know whether it's better to drive faster or steadily, let alone whether he should drive honestly or say something to Chen Mo. In fact, he had a lot of words in his heart to say to Chen Mo, the legendary grandfather, but he didn't know how to say it. Chen Mo put too much pressure on him. Even though Chen Mo intentionally suppressed and restrained the momentum of Ryuan, Wang Jin felt deeply awed by his unusual temperament and shocking legendary experience. Even as the leader of the Seven Commandments gang who controls Brooklyn and even most of the American underground forces, Wang Jin is not afraid of anyone at ordinary times. He still can't let go completely in front of Chen Mo. He is not confident and calm at all. Chen Mo naturally saw his embarrassment and offered to speak. "It's a good car." Chen Mo's initiative let Wang Jin, who had been embarrassed, relax in an instant. When he saw Chen Mo praising his car, he was very happy, just as excited as the child who showed off his favorite toy. "You have a good eye, Grandmaster. This car is not an ordinary product. I designed it myself." Speaking of this, Wang Jin completely forgot his discomfort, pride. Chen Mo didn't expect that Wang Jin designed this unusual sports car. It seems that in addition to Kung Fu, his obsession with sports cars is not low. As a small gang leader of the Seven Commandments sect with huge power and wealth, he drives every ordinary sports car he wants. It's estimated that he drives every 10 supercars in the world. Obviously, these super sports cars that can make ordinary fans crazy can't meet his needs, so he just designed a supercar of his own sports cars. As for how an ordinary person completes the overall design of a super sports car, it involves a lot of professional technology and complex data, body power layout, suspension, external wind resistance, and many other aspects, which is not something that a young person can complete independently. Don't forget, he was fortified with super soldier serum. When Wang Jin came of age and was still in college, Wang Kun thought that he was calm, so he injected super soldier serum. So Wang Jin's physical quality is 3 times that of ordinary people, and his brain development level is far higher than that of ordinary people. His learning ability is very strong. In college, he designed this super sports car through continuous learning and trying. As for manufacturing, Seven Ring Gang owns a large number of shares in several major automobile groups in the United States. It's very simple for them to help to build a sports car. If they don't love Kung Fu more and spend more time on practicing martial arts, Wang Jin can build a super sports car of his own like Tony Stark. After graduating from university, Wang Jin has been studying Kung Fu with Wang Kun. With the help of Chen Mo from time to time, his fighting skills are not much weaker than those of elites in the battlefield such as Eric Kermango and the crossbones such as Brock Lamblow. The only thing he lacks is actual combat experience. However, with his fighting talent and learning ability, as long as he is really involved in actual combat, it doesn't take too long. He can grow up quickly and become a real powerful fighter. Of course, even at that time, he was still not an opponent of Eric Kermango. After all, Eric Kermango received the transformation of enhanced super soldier serum, and his physical quality was already 5 times that of ordinary people. With the reinforcement of Wakanda heart-shaped herbs, his physical quality is now 7 times that of ordinary people, and his strength is far greater than that of the improved super soldiers. The serum enhancement of soldiers of grade A is only 3 times that of Wang Jin, let alone Brock Longlow, who has not been strengthened. Even so, it doesn't mean that Wang Jin's strength is not strong. Don't forget that Eric Kermango was a very powerful fighter before he was strengthened, just like the current crossbone Brock Longlow. He is also in the top ranks in the world, let alone Wang Jin after he has 3 times the strength of ordinary people. With his current strength, equipped with appropriate weapons and equipment, he is enough to fight against a small modern army and is qualified to join the ranks of superheroes. Previously, Chen Mo's strategic response team was composed of powerful superheroes to deal with possible special events threatening the Earth's security. So far, only Chen Mo himself and Tony Stark, the Iron Man. Looking at Wang Jin, who is surrounded by the British, Chen Mo can't help thinking, maybe he will be a good backup. It's needless to say that there is no problem in the loyalty of the descendants of his own intimate subordinates. Although they are young, they are still calm. 3 times the physical quality of ordinary people, coupled with excellent fighting skills, are enough to deal with any battle. As long as a little training, it will certainly become a good fighting force. Wang Jin, who was driving, did not know Chen Mo's thoughts at this time, and still introduced the supercar he was proud of. Chapter 193. Its power comes from a V10 engine, which can provide a powerful power of 1,000 horsepower. It only takes 3 seconds to accelerate 100 kilometers, and its top speed can reach more than 400 kilometers per hour. Speaking of this, Wang Jin's face cannot help but emerge a color of pride. What's more, although it looks like a sports car, its off-road performance is also very good. Of course, due to the chassis and driving structure, it's still impassable on the rugged mountain road. Wang Jin said and shook his head with regret. But I'm designing a new model that can guarantee a strong speed and has the off-road capability no less than that of a mountain off-road vehicle. Wang Jin's face emerged a look of yearning and then became a little depressed. It's just that there are still some technical problems that can't be solved in a short time. At this time, Chen Mo can't help mentioning his interest. While ensuring strong speed, he also has strong off-road ability. It sounds good. Chen Mo first owned a Hydra cross-country sports car when he was in charge of the Hydra during World War II. It was the car left by Red Skull Schmidt. However, at that time, it was powerful in speed and good in cross-country performance, but now it is a bit cumbersome, which is much worse than the sports car designed by Wang Jin. He was curious about what Wang Jingku's new car would look like. As for the technical problems he couldn't solve, they didn't exist in Chen Mo's eyes. The technical level Wang Jin has been exposed to is only the technical level mastered by the automobile companies in the world today. Compared with the whole automobile industry, it is high-end, but it is totally despised by Chen Mo. The technological level of Hydra and Wakanda, the developed countries with the highest technological strength, not to mention these auto companies, have left several streets far behind. With today's technological power of Hydra, as long as Wang Jin can design it, they can realize it and quickly create it. Chen Mo is really interested in Wang Jin's design ideas. Even if his design is inadequate, the top mechanical scientists of Hydra can perfect it and make it perfect. That is to say, you are designing a concept car, asked Chen Mo. Yes, in fact, the initial design has already been completed. As long as there is enough technical support, it can be directly manufactured. It's just that I didn't consider the current level of automobile technology when I designed it. The design was too idealistic. After the design was completed, I found that with the current level of technology of several major American automobile companies, it couldn't be manufactured at all. After that, I also tried to modify according to the existing technology, but after the modification, the performance declined too much, and there was no manufacturing value at all, so it has been put on hold. After Wang Jin finished, he sighed with regret and his eyes were full of longing. Chen Mo is listening to Wang Jin. He can't help smiling, but he doesn't say anything more. Wang Jin drove the sports car all the way and soon arrived at Tony Stark's villa on the beach. Chen Mo has the highest authority of Jarvis, the intelligent housekeeper of the villa, so the sports car is unimpeded all the way and directly drives into the villa from the channel opened at the end of the road. Along the broad arc passage, we arrived at the bottom of the villa and stopped in a spacious garage full of top-grade luxury cars. The two scissor doors on both sides of the car slowly opened up. Chen Mo took the lead in getting out of the car and walked towards a password door beside the garage, turning to Wang Jin at the same time. Let's go. Since I'm here, I'm not in a hurry to go back. Come with me to see how Tony's research is progressing. Wang Jin was also curious when he heard this. He didn't know what Master Chen Mazu and Uncle Tony were studying during this period. He has heard from his great-grandfather Wang Kun that Chen Mo, a legendary grandfather, is not only powerful, but also a technological genius. He has high attainments in biology and mechanics. The super soldier serum he injected was developed with Chen Mo's participation. Now many of the leading technologies in the military field of the Allies are Chen Mo's Mo, and Howard Stark developed it together. And the name of Tony's genius is more clear to him. Today's Stark industry can have the current strength, largely relying on a large number of advanced weapons invented by Tony Stark. It can be said that Tony Stark created the brilliance of Stark industry, and these two unique talents in the field of science and technology come together. They don't know what kind of sparks will collide with each other, and what kind of wonderful masterpieces will be born. With full curiosity, Wang Jin quickly got out of the car and followed Chen Mo. Jarvis, where is Tony now? Chen Mo came to the password door and put his hand on the sensing screen. A blue light quickly crossed the screen. After the prompt scanning was completed, the password door opened automatically. At the same time, Jarvis's voice rang. Master and Dr. Ethan are doing experiments in the laboratory now. Do you need to inform them that you are back? Sure enough, they can't be anywhere but the lab, Chen Mo thought. No, I'll go straight. Chen Mo pushes open the password door of the garage and walks towards the laboratory. Wang Jin followed him curiously. Although Tony Stark often went to the martial arts school, Wang Jin was the first to come to his villa. He was curious about everything here. Jarvis, the intelligent housekeeper just now, shocked him. Judging from the conversation just now, the intelligence level of this artificial intelligence is really not low. It feels almost like human beings. I don't know what else is magical here. Under the leadership of Chen Mo, the two men arrived at the laboratory very quickly. They saw Tony Stark and Dr. Ethan doing something in front of the computer. Not far behind them, there was a streamlined steel cuboid that was more than 1 person tall, with silver metallic luster and thick. Tony. Chenmo takes Wang Jin to the lab, but the two people who are absorbed in the computer don't find their arrival at all until Chenmo speaks out. The two people find their arrival. "Daddy, you're back." Seeing Chenmo coming back, Tony Stark was so excited that he threw aside what he was doing and walked quickly to Chenmo. Tony Stark saw Chenmo coming back and wanted to say something, but he found that Chenmo still had a man behind him. After a close look, he turned out to be an old acquaintance. Chapter 194. Wang Jin, why are you here? Tony Stark was introduced to the martial arts school by Howard at the beginning, and later he often practiced with Wang Kun. He was very familiar with Wang Jin, the younger generation, until Wang Jin was strengthened by super soldier serum, and he was diligent in practicing martial arts, and his strength soared. Tony Stark was often defeated by his own apprentice. He could not face it. He had been fishing for 3 days, and 2 days he seldom goes to the net. At this point, it has to be mentioned that Tony Stark has not received super soldier serum enhancement so far, because although he has made great achievements in scientific research and made Stark's industry prosper, he has always been very frivolous, arrogant, showy, and typical playboy. Howard thinks that he is not calm and mature enough. If he is strengthened by super soldier serum and has strong physical quality, he doesn't know what absurd things he will use to do. So Howard decides to wait until he is mature and stable enough, and then inject super soldier serum to him. In the past 10 years, Tony Stark's psychological growth seems to be in a state of complete stagnation. In his 30s, he is no different from the original. Howard has no choice but to give up his intention of strengthening him temporarily. And the emergence of Chen Mo made Howard see a turning point, hoping that Chen Mo's teaching can lead Tony back to the right track. At present, everything is moving in a good direction. After the attacks in Afghanistan and the betrayal of Obadiah, Tony Stark is much more mature than before. Although he is still a little bit unreliable, he has been able to assume the responsibility of a superhero to protect the safety of civilians and the Earth. I believe it's not long before he is qualified to receive the super soldier serum enhancement. Would you like to tell him that Howard is still alive? Chen Mo is looking forward to their father and son meeting again. Are they crying or fighting? Chen Mo thinks it's more likely to be the latter. The former is not likely to happen at all. Tony Stark didn't know his godfather's evil idea. Seeing the arrival of his little apprentice Wang Jin, he couldn't help but flashed an evil light in his eyes. Before being defeated by Wang Jin, a young man who has been working hard and practicing hard, Tony Stark, who has always been proud and arrogant, felt very disgraced. It can be said that Wang Jin, who was watched grow up by him, not only surpassed him in fighting skills for 3 days, fishing for 2 days, and drying nets, but also surpassed him in strength. This made Tony, who thinks he is fit and charming thousands of girls Stark, was very disappointed. He didn't know that Wang Jin could hide his strength. Otherwise, there would be 3 times the strength of ordinary people, and he could be sent to the hospital in one move. At this time, when I saw Wang Jin again, Tony Stark, who had a strong steel battle suit, couldn't help but move his mind. "Marshal uncle, I'll send him back." The simple Wang Jin didn't know Tony's mind. He greeted him respectfully. Under Wang Kun's instruction, Wang Jin also paid attention to the seniority. Tony Stark's father was a comrade in arms of Mr. Chen Mazu. He fought with his great-grandfather Wang Kun. He was his elder. Although Tony Stark was only a teenager older than him, He is in the same generation as his grandfather, so he is very respectful in front of Tony. You're here just in time. My new battle suit has just been made. Let's compete, Tony said with a bad smile. Finally, he had a chance to pull back and find his face as a martial uncle. Wang Jin is stunned when he hears the words and asks him to start with Tony Stark in a Steel War suit. He has seen the video of Iron Man and Iron Overlord battle. Although he has 3 times the physical strength of ordinary people compared with the mechanical-driven high-tech products, steel battle clothes, he still has a lot to lose. What's more, he fights. Isn't that looking for abuse? Seeing Wang Jin's silence, Tony Stark hurriedly continued. It's okay. I don't need weapons. Let's fight with each other. Let's see if your kung fu has improved. Tony's words made Wang Jin's face worse. Hand-to-hand combat. Don't wear war clothes if you have the ability. But Tony Stark, after all, was his elder. He could not be so shameful, so he had to keep his mouth shut and turn his eyes to the aside silence. Chen Mo is also controlled by Tony Stark's shamelessness. Feeling Wang Jin's pathetic look for help, Chen Mo turns his head and stares at Tony and begins to teach him a lesson. Do you want me to compete with you? You can use weapons. Let me have a look at your achievements in improving the war clothes. Tony Stark's face changed when he heard that. He couldn't help but think of Chen Mo's sudden appearance when he was fighting with the Iron Overlord driven by Obadiah in the Stark industry. He would directly behead the Iron Overlord who had been pressing him all the time and kill him easily and neatly. Although the gold titanium alloy used in the outer armor of Mark III is hard, he doesn't think it can resist the attack of Chen Mo's invincible king's sword. Moreover, Mark III is not an enlarged version of Iron Overlord. If Chen Mo beheads him with one sword, he is not as lucky as Obadiah and can survive. Looking back on the scene that the Iron Overlord was quickly approached by Chen Mo, leaped up and beheaded with one sword, Tony Stark could not help but swallow his saliva quietly, never mention the duel again, and then he came to Chen Mo with a smile and began to change the topic. Dad, you just came back. You should have a good rest. Seeing that Chen Mo is still adamant and silent, Tony's forehead is sweating. With Chen Mo's powerful strength, if he fights with him, he will probably tear up his newly completed Mark III into scrap iron, and he will inevitably get a fat beating himself. Thinking of this, Tony couldn't help looking aside at Dr. Ethan, winking at him and asking him to help with a few words. Dr. Ethan saw Tony's eyes and turned to look at Chen Mo. But under Chen Mo's cold and dignified eyes, he quickly looked away, turned his head to one side and pretended not to see Tony's call for help. Tony Stark glared at Dr. Ethan and then looked at Chen Mo with a guilty face. When he found that Chen Mo still had a straight face, his eyes could not help but move in the laboratory. Tony's eyes suddenly brightened when he saw the steel cuboid standing in the middle of the laboratory. Dad, look! Chapter 195. Tony Stark walked quickly to the golden and red streamlined cuboid and pointed to it and said excitedly to Chen Mo, "This is the new version of steel battle suit just made, Mark III. Dad, you are so prescient. According to what you said, I have improved the way to dress the battle clothes and added a new rapid deployment system of laser guidance and tracking. As long as you start the bracelet when necessary, the battle clothes will automatically start the flight mode and arrive quickly according to the positioning of the bracelet. If you don't calculate the flight arrival time of the battle clothes in the long distance, the fastest dressing speed in the short distance is less than 1 second. Tony Stark said, slowly raising his arms and stretching them out to both sides of his body, and the 2 silver bracelets on his wrists showed up in front of the crowd. Jarvis, start the suit. As soon as Tony Stark spoke, Chen and Mo had been standing quietly in the center of the room since they entered the laboratory. The golden red cuboid, like a science fiction steel box, suddenly moved. In a sonorous mechanical sound, The golden and red armor on the surface of the cuboid quickly bounced away and began to deform. Soon, the prototype of the battle suit came into being. At the same time, white flames shot out from the back and the bottom, pushing it quickly close to Tony Stark with open arms. In the flying battle suit, after deformation, 2 red mesh lasers were fired at the front of the 2 mechanical arms stretched out from both sides. After rapid scanning, they were quickly positioned on the 2 bracelets on Tony Stark's extended hands and wrists, and the 2 red lights on the bracelets immediately lit up, indicating that the positioning was completed. The 2 robotic arms quickly adjusted their positions. When the war suit was pasted behind Tony Stark, it was right on his arm. The front end of the robotic arm wrapped his wrist accurately. After finishing the first step of positioning, more dazzling changes began immediately. Like Transformer deformation, the whole war suit pasted on Tony Stark's back quickly unfolded. From the back to the front, Tony Stark's arms, legs, and torso were completely wrapped up from both sides. After his head was completely covered by helmet, he wore the cool steel with gold, and Red the Iron Man in battle clothes appeared in front of the crowd. It took less than 2 seconds from Tony Stark's order to Jarvis's dress, plus the time for the battle suit to fly and unfold. Chen Mo is very satisfied with this effect. He has a cube space where he can pick up and put things at any time. He doesn't need to let the battle suit fly from a distance, so he can completely omit the flight time. Moreover, he can make the war suit stand by in the form of deployment directly. When it is taken out, it fits the body directly, so that the deployment time is saved. As long as the prepared war suit is taken out from the space, the final dress can be carried out directly. According to Tony Stark's demonstration just now, this process only takes 0.5 seconds. That is to say, Chenmo only needs 0.5 seconds to dress up quickly when he needs to put on the steel battle clothes, and then he can directly enter the battle. Tony Stark, who is equipped with steel war clothes, takes a quiet look at Chenmo and finds that he looks at the war clothes and shows his thinking color. He can't help but take a quiet sigh of relief. Finally, it is successful to divert Chenmo's attention and escape the war with him. With this set of laser guidance and tracking rapid deployment system, we can completely get rid of the restriction of the dressing platform from now on, and can carry out fast equipment anytime and anywhere, the mobility of the war clothes, and the ability to deal with emergencies have been improved qualitatively. Seeing that Chenmo's attention was temporarily turned away, in order to prevent him from remembering what he had just done, Tony Stark began to talk about the new functions of Mark III's steel battle suit, and praised Chenmo who proposed this idea. Even Wang Jin, who had just been bullied by him, forgot what he had done before, and his attention was completely attracted to Mark III, one side and 2 sides looking at the golden and red, angular cool battle clothes in front of me. I listened to Tony Stark's story carefully. This upgrade not only adds a laser guidance and tracking rapid deployment system to the war suit, but also greatly increases the mobility and adaptability. I have also greatly enhanced and upgraded the weapon system of the whole war suit. The 3rd generation arc reactor provides a more powerful, stable, and durable energy supply for the battle suit. After optimization, the flight stability device at the original 2 hands can launch a more powerful arc pulse gun, which can easily destroy the car, destroy the concrete wall, and the power of the cluster gun at the chest has been greatly enhanced. As Tony Stark said, he stretched out his hands. The flying stabilizer in his palm lit up a dazzling white light, but then it went dark again. It didn't really launch. After all, it's in the laboratory now. With the power of transformation, 2 shots can destroy most of the equipment in the laboratory. In addition, all other weapons originally equipped in the war suit have been improved and upgraded, and more powerful weapons have been added again. With 30 micro automatic tracking missiles on both sides and shoulders, it can lock and attack 60 enemies at the same time, which plays a very important role in rescuing hostages and dealing with a large number of scattered enemies. As Tony Stark explained, he manipulated the suit and opened the weapon compartment on his shoulder. The armor on the shoulders of both sides of the armor moved back, revealing the missile nest below. 30 miniature automatic tracking missiles with the size of ordinary pistol bullets were arranged in the missile nest orderly on both sides. As long as the armor scanned and locked the enemy, they could launch rapidly, automatically aim and lock their own targets, track them, and implement precision on multiple targets at the same time to strike. A new laser cutting weapon has been added to the wrist, which is very powerful and can easily cut large armored targets. Even heavy armored tanks can be easily cut, but it also consumes a lot of energy. Most of the energy supply needs to be used when using. The thrusters that consume a lot of energy must be closed, so they cannot be used in flight. Because the power of laser cutting weapons is so powerful, Tony Stark didn't demonstrate it. He just raised his wrist, ejected the laser launcher from his wrist, and showed it to the public. There are also new weapons added to the legs of battle armor. There are 10 heavy high-explosive missiles on both sides. Each one is powerful enough to blow a house into ruins. Tony Stark said as 2 large pieces of armor brush on the front of his thigh bounced to both sides, revealing a heavy high-explosive missile the size of a baby's fist inside. At last, Tony Stark raised his arm. The armor on his forearm moved to one side, and a missile nearly 20 centimeters long came up from inside. Chapter 196. The original anti-tank missile on the arm has also been upgraded to 2 more powerful high-explosive penetrators, which are extremely destructive to underground bunkers, fortifications, and heavy armor. The fully upgraded Mark III has surpassed the full-load F-22 Raptor to some extent in terms of weapon configuration. It's true that the missiles built in the battle suit are small, but they are the crystallization of the most advanced technology of Stark Industry. Their power is not much weaker than that of ordinary conventional missiles. Moreover, don't forget that the electric arc pulse guns at the hands and the cluster guns at the chest are not limited in ammunition loading. As long as the energy is enough, they can carry out continuous attacks, which is equivalent to 2 continuous attacks and a heavy gun. In this way, the F-22 Raptor, which surpasses the U.S. military's most powerful main aircraft in firepower, is in the past. In addition, it's only under normal circumstances. For Chen Mo, who has a huge storage space, he can replenish weapons, ammunition, and energy to the war clothes at any time. He can basically achieve unlimited endurance. No matter how fierce the battle is, he doesn't need to worry about ammunition exhaustion and energy shortage. If Tony Stark is equivalent to a humanoid super fighter after wearing Mark III steel, Chen Mo can be regarded as a humanoid fortress. 1,000 cubic meters of space is filled with heavy high-explosive missiles the size of a baby's fist, which can hold tens of millions of missiles. With enough palladium metal plates, Chen Mo can completely turn into an infinite cruise bomber with unlimited ammunition, destroying a country by himself. If we go back to World War II, the huge strategic bomber, the goddess of Valkyrie, which killed 9-headed snakes in a second, one can easily wipe out all the troops and end World War II. It has to be said that Tony Stark is really a genius in weapon manufacturing. He can reduce the missile to the minimum size of a pistol bullet and maintain accurate guidance and tracking. The largest is no less than the baby fist to the size of a cigar, but his power is no less than ordinary armor-piercing bullets and high-explosive bombs. Moreover, such a large number of powerful weapons can all be hidden inside the armor. Chen Mo can't help but think of Justin Hammer's refitting of the war machine in Iron Man 2. All the weapons are mounted outside. Although they look very dignified in Chen Mo's eyes, it's like a perfect artwork to put those things on the outside of the steel armor patch by patch. It's like low burst. Looking at the smooth shape of Mark III in front of us, it can not only deform, realize rapid deployment of clothing, but also hide a large number of weapons under the armor, which not only ensures the flexibility of action, but also maintains the smoothness of the external lines of the body, so that the uniform can maintain the lowest wind resistance and the highest flight speed when flying. The most important thing is to avoid the malpractice that external weapons are exposed and easily destroyed by the enemy's attack, and to eliminate the loopholes of defense. Chen Mo is very satisfied with Tony Stark's carefully improved and upgraded new Mark III. Now Mark III meets his needs for steel battle clothes. Until now, Chen Mo, who had been stolid, finally relaxed, letting Tony Stark, who had been secretly watching him, breathe a sigh of relief. In order to completely divert Chen Mo's attention, Tony Stark has no time to stop to take a breath and continue to show Chen Mo his R&D achievements. As long as Chen Mo is satisfied, he should not be taught a lesson. The shape of the battle suit has also been further optimized, and the air resistance during high-speed flight has been further reduced. At the same time, in addition to the main propulsion device on the foot, 4 new propulsion devices have been added at the back and under the ribs on both sides, which are more powerful, with a maximum speed of up to Mach 6 and a speed of over 7,000 km/h, and can reach any part of the Earth in 3 hours a corner. Tony Stark said that at the foot and back of the war suit, the 6 propulsion devices under the ribs started at the same time, shooting out dazzling white flames, pushing the war suit slowly off the ground. At the same time, his hands are inclined to the 2 sides, palm down, also shooting out 2 white flames, helping him to maintain balance, stabilize his body in the air, so as to stably suspend in the air in the middle of the air. There are 8 propellers in the whole battle suit, including both hands, which provide power for the flight at the same time. At this time, they are suspended in the air, only with a very small power output. Once the 8 propellers are fully output at the same time, the huge propulsion force generated can make the speed of the battle suit soar, break through the sound speed in a very short time, and finally reach the terrorist speed of 6 times the sound speed. We need to know that the maximum flying speed of F-22 Raptor is only Mach 2.25, and the maximum speed of SR-71 Blackbird, the fastest flying fighter in the world, is Mach 3.35, which can't even catch the shadow of Mark III. Even the speed of conventional missiles is generally less than Mach 6, so with the strength of the air forces of all countries, it is impossible to attack the Mark III at all, and the whole sky can be galloped by him. This brand new steel war suit is the 3rd war suit made by Tony Stark. It is named Mark III in sequence, but in fact, its performance, as well as its advanced level, are comparable to Mark VII in the film. Even with the help of Chen Mo's high-end technology support and a lot of forward-looking improvement opinions, the comprehensive performance of the Mark III is much better than that of the Mark VII in the movie. Especially after Chen Mo provided the energy engine technology of Hydra, Tony Stark improved the thruster of the battle suit so that Mark III could have such amazing speed. Some anxiously slowly landed on the ground, eyes behind the helmet through the screen, quietly looking at the expression on Chen Mo's face. I don't know if my performance has completely dispelled Chen Mo's determination to clean up. Naturally, Chen Mo didn't forget what he was going to teach Tony just now. Because he was Wang Jin's elder, he shamelessly wanted to rely on a strong steel battle suit to save the face lost by Wang Jin's defeat, which made Chen Mo angry. Feeling Tony Stark's uneasy heart beating under the war clothes, Chen Mo gave him a stern look and taught him a lesson. If you are the elder of Wang Jin, you should look like an elder. What you should do is protect him, take care of him, not tease and bully him. Wang Jin is obsessed with Kung Fu. His fighting ability is better than yours. There is no shame. Your talent in weapon research and development is incomparable. This Mark III is the best proof. Chapter 197. You are all a family, there is no need to score high and low. You are the elder, more should be modest and magnanimous. Chenmo looks at Tony's education. Dad, I'm wrong. Tony Stark opened his war suit, walked out of it, and watched Chenmo seriously admit his mistake. In fact, he didn't mean anything, just wanted to tease Wang Jin. Even if he did, he would pay attention to his discretion and never hurt him. However, as Chenmo said when he taught him, he was also an elder. He was Wang Jin's martial uncle. It was a bit inappropriate to bully the younger generation, so he simply admitted his mistake. It's not good not to admit it. Seeing Mark III fails to distract Chenmo's attention. If he refuses to admit his mistake, Chenmo will not let him go easily. A fat beating is inevitable. Maybe even the brand new Mark III will be disassembled into parts by Chenmo. Thinking of Chenmo's aggressive scene of killing Iron Overlord, Tony Stark can't help shivering. He's honest, I really bow my head and admit my mistake. At this time, Wang Jin, the cause of the incident, was just because his grandfather taught him a lesson, but he stood aside with an innocent face and didn't dare to make a noise. The big guy fought. His little generation was not qualified to interrupt. It was good to listen to him honestly. Chenmo looks at Tony Stark's attitude. He nods his head lightly, which makes Tony's heart hanging loose. Finally, he escapes without being beaten. However, Chenmo then turned to Wang Jin, who was standing on one side with his eyes fixed on his toes. Wang Jin, don't you have a card design? Send him to Tony and ask your uncle to make it for you. Tony Stark, who was glad to avoid punishment, nodded his head in a hurry. Card design drawings. No problem, it's all small. Let's see Marshall Uncle help you to make it. Tony strode to Wang Jin, patted him on the shoulder, and said confidently, Tony Stark is also a car lover. All the world's top luxury cars and classic antique cars with decades of history in the huge garage have been disassembled and refitted by him, and their performance has been greatly improved, far surpassing that of similar models. As a rare genius who makes the super equipment of steel war clothes, the car design drawing in the hands of a young man who just graduated from university should not be too simple for him. But soon, he found that he seemed to think wrong. Is this a car? Bullshit. This is just a chariot, okay. And it's also a super chariot that surpasses the level of modern technology. The so-called design drawing is a concept map at all. Although there are detailed structural designs of various parts, many of them cannot be achieved with the existing technology level. This car is a concept car that can only exist in the design. After Tony Stark got Wang Jin's design drawings, after a careful analysis, he found that the car was not as simple as he thought. Although it was not impossible for him to make it, he needed to spend some energy on modification, optimization, and improvement, which was totally different from what he had thought when he promised. According to his original idea, he improved the design a little, and then gave it to Stark Industries for manufacturing. Now, it seems that he has to go out on his own. However, since we have promised in front of Chenmo, it is impossible to repent, so we can only make it. At the beginning, we should refine the original design drawing, which is only in the imagination, and modify it according to the actual situation, which also needs the participation of Wang Jin, the designer. As a result, Tony Stark's villa has another permanent resident population and completed the manufacturing of Mark III. Tony and Dr. Ethan, together with Wang Jin, have invested in the research and development of the super chariot. Chenmo only put forward his own opinions on the design and modification of the chariot at the beginning, and provided some important high-end technology support. Those technologies that need to be used by the chariot but do not have at present can be solved in the databases of Hydra and Wakanda. After that, Chen Mo left the development of the chariot to Tony Stark, Wang Jin, and Ethan, while he focused on the research of Mark III himself. Before, when Tony Stark developed the laser guidance and tracking rapid deployment system, Chen Mo was busy implementing the African Unity Plan in Africa, so he did not participate in the research. When he came back, he directly transferred all the drawings and materials of Mark III through Jarvis and began to research from the beginning. The more research is done, the more Chen Mo feels Tony Stark's terrorist talent. The laser guidance and tracking rapid deployment system involves too many and complex places. It needs to be able to transform an iron can into a half-surrounded armor and finally completely wrap people up. The whole deformation mechanism is extremely complex, which has a great impact on the transmission of the war clothes and the weapon system. But Tony Stark can design the whole system in a short time and balance the relationship between it and other systems of the war clothes to ensure the stable operation of the whole war clothes. I have to admit that Tony Stark is a real genius in weapons and machinery. The speed of research and development of the super chariot designed by Wang Jin also proves this. According to Wang Jin's initial conceptual design drawings and Chen Mo's opinions, Tony Stark redesigned the chariot and manufactured all parts one by one through Stark Industry. Some key parts were made by himself, and he soon entered the assembly stage. At the same time, the situation in Africa has gradually changed. Before, the nine-headed snake and the Shield Bureau took advantage of the warlord beheading operation launched by Wakanda. All the troops were without leaders, and the governments of all countries fell into the great reality of chaos. They launched together and completely controlled the governments and armies of African countries. All of these were carried out in secret. On the face of it, African governments still controlled the country. Later, in this rare period when the warlord forces fell into peace, all countries started to carry out rescue operations, and soon evolved into a joint rescue operation in Africa. Wakanda's name also with this joint rescue operation spread rapidly in Africa. The huge flying machine printed with black leopard pattern has brought precious food, fresh water, and a large number of survival materials to refugees suffering from war and famine, which has freed them from the threat of death. In fact, many parts of the African continent have always had a mysterious legend about the panther. Chapter 198. Before Wakanda began to hide, the black leopard often traveled in Africa and appeared all over Africa. With its powerful power, it left a legend of the black leopard. In recent years, although Wakanda has been hidden, there are also war dogs who have been helping and rescuing civilians in the war. One of them is Tekara's ex-girlfriend Najia. They have not only saved people, but also made the legend of black leopard more widely spread in the African continent. So black leopard has a special status in the hearts of many African people. After the start of the joint rescue operation, the powerful power displayed by Wakanda and the panther pattern on the huge aircraft made people connect them with the legendary panther. The influence accumulated over the long years has been greatly exploded. The panther has become the savior in many people's minds, and Wakanda has also become their heart the holy land of. Although Chen Mo is far away in New York, in fact, he has been paying attention to the situation in Africa and the progress of the plan while studying the Mark III. According to the information in his hand, Chen Mo feels that the time is right to start the next step. With Chen Mo's order, Hydra, Shendan Bureau and Wakanda took action together. Without any knowledge from other countries, a huge action is quietly brewing in the dark. When it is launched, it will be a shock to the world and bring unparalleled shock to the whole world. Africa, which has always been poor and chaotic, is ignorant and backward in the eyes of the world, and has not much sense of existence, is about to show a grand event in front of the world. At that time, the whole world will be shocked. This will be a magnificent moment never seen in human history. While giving the final action instructions to the three organizations, Chen Mo also gave a seemingly unrelated order. With his order, the three organizations moved quickly. At the same time, with his another order, an improved super soldier serum was sent from Hydra base and soon reached Eric Kermango and finally injected into Princess Suri. Chen Mo is not only paying attention to the overall situation in Africa during this period. In the Kingdom of Wakanda, she has been paying attention to the research progress of nanotechnology by Princess Suri. However, at present, although some progress has been made, there is still a long way to go before she can fully grasp it and apply it to the Black Panther. According to Chen Mo's analysis of the progress of research, and the time when nano-war clothes appear in the film, it is likely to take several years to complete, which is too long for him. Maki no 3 steel battle suit, which can be quickly deployed and dressed, has been successfully manufactured. Chen Mo's biggest goal has been achieved, and he has also taken heart-shaped herbs. His strength has been greatly improved, and it's almost time to return to the real world. Chen Mo can't stay here for several years for a nano-combat suit. If he can't finish it in a short time, he will have to wait for the next time. However, there is no way to speed up the research. The super soldier serum can strengthen the body in all aspects, which can improve the ability of the person receiving the reinforcement in all aspects, including memory, thinking, reasoning, judgment, and other abilities of the brain. After injecting super soldier serum, the brain power of Princess Suri, who was originally a super genius, is bound to soar again, and the research speed of nanotechnology will definitely be greatly accelerated, which should be able to make a breakthrough in the short term. In the next few days, Chen Mo thoroughly absorbed the whole design of Mark III. As long as he had enough equipment and materials, he could make Mark III himself. Moreover, with the complex and delicate deformation system designed by Tony Stark as a reference, Chen Mo's super brain soon mastered the essentials. This also means that he can modify the deformation system of Mark III and make changes to the deployment mode of steel battle clothes according to his own needs. After all, he does not need to fly to the battlefield clothes with space, so he only needs to open the war clothes to accommodate him. Chen Mo, who has eaten through the design of Mark III steel battle suit, has nothing else to do with the research and development of Tony Stark's super chariot designed by Wang Jin. With the help of Chen Mo, who has a wide range of knowledge and has the brain to crush all the people, the design modification and improvement of super chariot will be completed soon. Chen Mo is still learning how to use the deformation technology learned from Mark III to the chariot. Although he can't make such a huge change from box to war clothes as the war clothes, he can also achieve many very strong changes, powerful and practical features. After the completion of the design of the new chariot, the 4 members of the Super Weapon R&D team walked out of the underground laboratory, sat in the spacious living room of the luxury villa, watched TV while eating the pizza called by Jarvis. Several research bachelors gathered together and enjoyed the rare leisure time after the research made phased progress. From tomorrow, they will officially start the construction of super chariots, with the devotion of 4 people working up and forgetting to eat and sleep. Before the chariots are built, they can't be as leisurely as they are now. As for Pepper, Tony Stark's beauty assistant, after Chen Mo helped Tony regain control of Stark Industries and recover all the shares to realize 100% full control, Tony Stark appointed Pepper as the new president of Stark Industries to take charge of the whole company for him. After that, a series of actions, such as delisting and privatization, were carried out under the leadership of Pepper. After that, Tony Stark became the shopkeeper of the company and gave it all to Pepper. He devoted himself to the research and development of the third steel battle suit. It's not easy to finish Mark III, but he has a new task for himself. However, Tony Stark is more and more interested in the super chariot designed by Wang Jin, with the constant modification and improvement of the design. He wants to see how strong the super chariot will be finally built under the joint efforts of the four of them. Tony Stark did a good job as the shopkeeper. All the things of Stark Industry were on Pepper. During this period, she was busy with the company's business. She came back late every day. However, she enjoyed it and felt that she had found a new value in her life. No, the four big guys who just got out of the lab are occupying a sofa, lying or sitting, eating pizza without any image, and watching TV leisurely, while Pepper, the new president of Stark Industries, is still in the company. Chapter 199. Chenmo alone occupied a large single sofa, comfortably leaning back in the soft back of the sofa, two arms and elbows propped on the armrest of the sofa, one hand holding a large piece of delicious pizza covered with cheese and barbecue to eat, the other hand holding a can of iced Coke, drinking from time to time, a face of comfort and satisfaction. Everyone else was the same. Tony Stark collapsed directly on the sofa, eating pizza and exclaiming, "Comfortable." Well, if only Pepper were here. Several people are either the top rich, the secret organization controller, or the heirs of big gangs and top scientists, but they are satisfied with a meal of pizza. It can be seen how bad their meals are at ordinary times. The storage of instant noodles in the corner of the laboratory shows everything. In the past, Pepper, as Tony Stark's personal life assistant, managed his life in an orderly way. When Chenmo and Dr. Ethan worked together with Tony to develop Mark II, the living conditions were much better than they are now. It's just a pity that now, as a strong woman in the workplace and a tyrant, she feels pretty good about herself, but she has suffered a few of them. When Chenmo heard Tony's exclamation, he gave him a bad look. "When I was working, I forgot to eat or sleep. Now I think of others when I eat. When can you get a beautiful girl like this?" But Chenmo has been a matchmaker once. I didn't worry about Steve and Carter at that time. It turned out to be beautiful. The two who had been tragically wrong finally came together and had a daughter, completely rewriting the tragic history. However, Chenmo is not in the mood to try again. Anyway, they are not like Steve and Steve. Chenmo should come together sooner or later if he doesn't interfere. Children and grandchildren have their own grandchildren. Let them go. Tony Stark was puzzled by Chenmo's white eyes. Seeing that Chenmo didn't speak, he didn't care what he didn't understand. He took the pizza in his hand and bit it hard. At this time, the electric door of the living room was suddenly opened. Pepper, a sharp white professional suit, came in with a briefcase. Seeing the appearance of the four people in the living room, especially Tony Stark's chicken coop hairstyle, and the beard that hasn't been shaved for a long time, Pepper helplessly turned his white eyes and didn't have his own care. These men are almost refugees. He walked quickly to the sofa and looked at the pizza box on the tea table that was about to be emptied. Pepper said flatly, "You eat this every day." Usually, when she came back, several people were still busy in the laboratory. In addition, she spent all her time in the company. She and Ben didn't know what they ate every day. Under Pepper's stare, Tony Stark chewed twice more, which forced him to swallow the food in his mouth. "Of course not. Today is to improve food. Would you like some too?" Tony Stark pointed to the remaining pizza in the box, which made Wang Jin withdraw his hand as he was about to reach for it. Pepper looked at Tony Stark, who was full of sincerity. For a moment, he didn't know what to say. Did he owe him in his last life? "I'm busy every day. I have to take care of the company for him and worry about his life when I come back. Do I have a son?" Then turn around and look at the other three people on the sofa who are almost virtuous. Pepper can't help but add another sentence in his heart. No, it's 4 sons. When Pepper, the hot mother, watched the four people's headache. The picture on the TV in the living room suddenly changed to a newsroom. "Audience, we are now broadcasting an important news," the blonde hostess in the studio said with some excitement. Chen and Mo in the living room were also attracted by the suddenly inserted sound and looked at the TV screen. Just now, there was a big news that shocked the world. African countries have changed dramatically. A dozen days ago, shortly after the joint African rescue operation in which African countries participated, the heads of 61 African countries held a summit of African countries in the capital of the Kingdom of Wakanda, and finally announced the establishment of the African Union of Unity. The purpose of the African Union of Unity is to promote the unity and development of African countries, strengthen the cooperation of African countries in politics, diplomacy, economy, culture, military and other aspects, safeguard the sovereignty, territorial integrity and independence of African countries, eradicate wars and poverty from Africa, and promote international cooperation. In the eyes of the world, the Kingdom of Wakanda, which has always been a small, poor and backward African country, also shows its real strength in front of the world. This small country in the northeast of Africa has the level of science and technology no less than that of the world's big and developed countries. Their rescue team rushed to all parts of Africa, delivered a large number of rescue materials to the refugees in time, and miraculously drilled a deep well on the dry African land, which solved the problem of refugees in a short time, the biggest water problem. As the hostess narrated, the picture on TV turned. On a barren and arid African grassland, a huge 4-engine aircraft was slowly landing, and a large number of food, fresh water, medicine, tents, and other materials were constantly transported down. The picture turned again, and a huge drilling equipment was roaring and running. Soon, a flash of light was fading, then the water flowed out of the dry and cracked land, and countless people cheered excitedly. In fact, this news has been reported before. Besides being happy for the African people, Tony Stark and others don't feel too much, because Wakanda doesn't expose the highest technology, and now it only shows large transport aircraft and deep drilling equipment. Even if it is higher than the most advanced level in the world, it doesn't exceed too much. The real core stealth, acoustic technology, and other high-end technologies have not been shown to the outside world. Suddenly, a large number of spy agents who want to enter Wakanda are all blocked outside, and the real strength of Wakanda is not fully exposed. Tony and Pepper in the living room watched the TV screen curiously. They were curious to know what was the major news that shocked the world in the host population and the upheaval in African countries. The picture turns back to the live room again. The beautiful hostess continues to report to the camera, but in her look, you can find a trace of disbelief that is inadvertently revealed. Chapter 200. Just now, all 61 African countries held a press conference at the same time to announce the formal reunification of Africa. Since then, there is only one country in Africa, that is, the Kingdom of Wakanda. All the original African countries have been incorporated into the Kingdom of Wakanda and become the next province. The original national government has been directly downgraded to the provincial government of the Kingdom of Wakanda and no longer exercise diplomatic legislation and other rights. Now please see the live report from the front reporter. The people in the living room didn't read the following reports anymore. Instead, they looked at each other's people with unbelievable confidence. Did I hear you right? African unity? What kind of Wakanda did that pop up? Tony Stark's face was full of disbelief. He looked up at Pepper standing in front of him and asked suspiciously, "Pepper, is this April Fool's Day? We were fooled by the TV station." Pepper, who was also shocked by the news, shook his head slightly. No, today is not April Fool's Day. This news should be true. Africa is really united. Tony and the others looked at each other, but they couldn't help bursting out a rude remark. Cow, force. On one side of the sofa sat the Chen Mo, the corners of his mouth slightly upward, showing a faint smile. The African Unity Plan is finally completed, and it's not as easy as Tony and his colleagues saw. After all, Europe and the United States, which have huge interests in the African continent, do not eat dry food. The reunification of Africa will inevitably infringe on their interests, which they do not want to see and absolutely do not allow. So there will be the previous joint rescue operation and the African Union, with these seemingly normal means, to cover up the real purpose at the same time, to rapidly expand the influence and control of Wakanda in Africa as a whole. And their actions in all aspects are very rapid. Even if the European and American countries find out wrong, they can't stop at all. Who would have thought that the reunification of the whole continent and more than 60 countries had been completed in less than a month? This is the amazing power of the Hydra and Shield Bureau hidden behind the scenes. It can easily overthrow a country's political power, but it is also because the goal is chaotic Africa. If we change to Europe and the United States, it will not be so easy, and even more impossible to be so simple and crude. Even with the full support of Hydra and Aegis, the process of Wakanda's reunification of Africa is not easy. In order to fully grasp Africa and realize its reunification, in addition to controlling the governments and military forces of all countries and gathering the hearts of the people, the biggest problem is the opposition of European and American countries. They can't watch the chaotic Africa achieve reunification and move towards stability and unity, so how can they easily seize huge interests in resource-rich Africa? This is also the reason why Chen Mo did not choose to unify Africa by force. The name is irregular, and the words are not smooth. The military conquest will leave an excuse for the Western developed countries to intervene. At that time, in order to maintain their vested interests in Africa, they will inevitably send troops to intervene, just like what happened in the Middle East. They talk about democracy and human rights, but they trample on other countries' sovereignty and interfere in other countries' internal affairs. So Chen would not have given them excuses and opportunities to intervene. Not only that, after the start of the joint rescue operation, a number of large-scale transport planes secretly transported a large number of production materials from African countries to Wakanda under the cover of the rescue operation while rescuing the refugees. With the resource supply of Africa as a whole, Wakanda, with advanced science and technology, has fully expanded its terrible production capacity. The production base started the production and construction of military materials, and a batch of weapons and equipment with the world's top level were rapidly produced. After the establishment of the African Union of Unity, all the armed forces of various countries were unified and reorganized. After screening, only less than 1/10 of the elite soldiers were retained. But without the scuffle between warlords, just to protect Africa and maintain stability, there is no need to retain so many troops. What's more, these selected soldiers are all the most elite. Equipped with advanced weapons, their combat effectiveness is much stronger than before. However, the role of these soldiers is not to deal with the military intervention of Western developed countries, but to maintain the stability of Africa. It is the elite soldiers and high-end military forces of Wakanda that really deal with the threat of external force. After the declaration of African unity, the armed forces of Western countries in Africa were rapidly expelled. Faced with more and more advanced African soldiers, those Western soldiers who were proud of themselves in front of the African soldiers suddenly turned pale. Looking at the African soldiers who are more advanced and powerful than their equipment now, they don't even have the heart to resist, and they just walk away. The Western countries, accustomed to Africa, are not willing to take the cake in their own hands. After their troops in Africa were expelled, they quickly formed a joint force to prepare for military intervention in the name of Africa's liberation. Then they found that African airspace and territorial waters were completely blocked, and their fighters and warships could not get close to the African continent at all. Whether it's the most advanced F-22 Raptor, B-2 stealth strategic bomber, or European Typhoon, French Rafale fighters can't enter Africa's airspace. Whenever they get close, they will be quickly intercepted by Wakanda fighters. Their proud radar stealth is completely invalid, while Wakanda fighters show speed, mobility, and other aspects. The surface performance is far better than them. In the air confrontation, they can't catch the shadow of the Wakanda fighters, let alone lock them in and attack. But their own aircraft is constantly sounding the alarm of being locked by the radar. No matter how they maneuver, avoid, even accelerate to escape, they can't get rid of the lock of the Wakanda fighters. After being shot down several fighters in succession, the other fighters finally had to surrender and be transported to Africa for landing. After losing a lot of fighters, the coalition had to give up the use of air power. But the Navy's attack was also blocked. After ignoring the warning from Wakanda and stepping into the African territorial waters, the Wakanda fighters gave them a lesson once again. There is only one air ripple approaching a Burke-class destroyer at high speed from the air. Then the warship is hit like a missile, and a huge hole is blown out at the side of the ship. A great deal of sea water rushed into the ship's hull, and the world's top missile destroyer with powerful force soon sank to the bottom of the sea. Under this invisible attack, after losing several warships in succession, they had to retreat obediently.